So the NFL draft has come and gone, and the Giants answered one huge question. Yeah, they got themselves a young potential franchise quarterback. They also filled a bunch of other spots. We'll talk about it next on the Big Blue Breakdown live. Hi again, everybody, and welcome to the Big Blue Breakdown Live. I'm Paul Dottino. So glad you could join us on this very special edition of the program as we review the Giants 2025 draft class. There'll be no show this Wednesday at 8 p.m. We thought it best to move it to Monday so we could get right to the nuts and bolts of the new players the Giants are adding to their 2025 roster. And without any further ado, I want to bring in the guy who helped us preview the draft just a few short weeks ago, and I don't think he's gotten any sleep. I know I certainly haven't, and that, of course, would be Emory Hunt, who joins us from the football game plan as well as CBS Sports HQ. Emory, always good to see you, and thanks so much for your time again tonight.
Always a pleasure, Paul. Love talking ball with you, my man.
Well, I got to tell you something. There was a lot of excited Giants fans over the course of the 3-day NFL draft. They did a number of things, but I thought the first thing that we would do is just take a look at each one of the picks one by one as we go through their rounds. And then I'd like to get your general overall assessment of maybe the sleeper pick. It won't be Abdul Carter, obviously, but the sleeper pick that the Giants got, maybe a day 3 guy who maybe you really had your eye on once we get done through the description of where each one of these guys could fit into the Giants 2025 season. So we start out with Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State. He was taken after Cam Ward and Travis Hunter were removed off the board. The Giants medical staff apparently checked him out. They thought that his shoulder and his foot injury were not going to be a problem, and they made the pick. I don't know too many people who could disagree, Emory. Carter is quite a specimen.
Definitely. And what's unique about him, and it's almost like when we were talking about Micah Parsons, people forget he set out that year before he came into the league. So the last time we saw Micah Parsons play in college, he was playing off-ball linebacker. So seeing him in the league as an edge rusher was a surprise. Like, whoa, who could have seen this coming? But with Abdul Carter, we saw him play both off-ball linebacker and we saw him play edge. And so now we have a better picture of what he can potentially be as a pro in terms of pro prospect, which is why he was able to develop and blossom and be the number 1 edge rusher. He was my number 1 edge rusher at the position. And also when you think about his game, what I really love about it, he has the great sense of timing. So that means when we're watching the game, like, man, they need to play. He's always the one making the play. And when you have that level of being able to rise to the occasion, that's the type of guy you want on your defense or want in your franchise on either side of the ball.
Emory, so many people said to me before the draft, oh my goodness, how are they going to draft Carter? If they do that, they've got to trade Kayvon Thibodeau, who, by the way, is not being traded and had his 5th-year option picked up. As I tried to tell people going in, there was no reason why you couldn't have him and Burns and Carter all on the same team because they can take rests at different times and have Carter come in. They could also play all 3 at the same time, given the fact that Carter's played off-ball linebacker. Heck, you could even use him as a spy on some situations.
Yeah, you can use him in the middle of the field. And it's you remember this type backer, Paul, guys that built like Carl Banks, these 6'4", 250 guys that step right there in the middle, you know what I'm saying, and clog up passing windows. Carter's off-ball experience makes him such a valuable piece. And you're absolutely right. You're dead on. You can have all 3 guys on the field at the same time. And there's no downside to collecting good players. This is the NFL. The hope is that you have 53 very good players, right? So I don't see a downside in Abdul Carter for the Giants, especially at pick 3. So for me, that was another one of these home run hits that we saw from people throughout the draft.
Funny thing is, his body type, he really looks an awful lot like Pepper Johnson to me. If you want to throw it back a few decades, he's got the Pepper Johnson body type, but I think more athleticism and more speed and quickness and certainly more bend to get to the quarterback. We all know Pepper was primarily an inside guy who every once in a while had to play outside because of injuries when he was with the Giants. But Carter is a guy who I think is really going to fit in well and make an immediate impact, Emory. I think that's the other thing. You draft a guy number 3, you want to get stuff out of him right away. You don't want to wait.
Absolutely. And again, this is a plug and play guy. And when you think about the Giants defense last year, in the last couple of seasons, like, man, who's the closer? They got some good players. And okay, they brought in Brian Burns. He was supposed to be one of those closers. And now you bring in Abdul Carter. Kayvon Thibodeau has quietly been a solid football player. There's no doubt. There's nothing wrong with being solid. And he still has room to grow. And so I love the fact that they've added these 3 guys to this defense. And oh, by the way, they have this big superstar in the middle of all of that in Dexter Lawrence. So now they're cooking with gas in terms of their point of attack play, which should help the run defense, which should help them on third downs, and which should help them play great situational football in the back end of games.
Now, if things go the way the Giants want them to, their second pick in this draft will not see the field until at least next year. That would be Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart, who comes via trade with Houston as the Giants move up from 34 to 25, and they deal away this year's third rounder and next year's third rounder. Emory, if Dart does become just a good starter, he doesn't even have to be great. If he's just good, this trade was a really good value for the Giants.
Well, yeah, if he becomes good, and this is he was my QB7, right? So I like Dart, but I wasn't as high on Dart. But the reason why is I feel like Dart is one that needs time, which he will get in New York. So it works out for him because it's the Lane Kiffin offense, and we are recently seeing that with a guy in Matt Corral, who has been playing up and down, struggling in the UFL, just trying to find his way and trying to deal with things, getting acclimated to pro-level offense, pro-level hash marks, pro-level quickness and pressure. And I think that's where Jackson Dart also has to grow. And because when you look at the individual pieces, he has touch, he has timing, he throws well on the move, good, very good athlete. I was about to say good, but he's a very good athlete. So he has requisite skills, right? Mm-hmm. It's just the situational football is where he struggles. I know people will point to, well, he's good versus the blitz and versus pressure. And when I say pressure are 2 different things. I'm talking about pressure of the moment, situational pressure, situational football. The Florida game is one aspect, or any big game they played at Ole Miss are examples of that. And that is kind of tied to the offense and what happens when that first read is taken away, to juxtapose when the picture changes post-snap, which is why I said he needs to sit, which is why it makes sense for him to come to New York, because you have a veteran presence in both Jameis Winston and also Russell Wilson that can allow him to be worked on behind the scenes with Brian Daboll, maybe some after practice stuff, or in these preseason games, getting those live action reps. And hopefully his career looks better than Matt Corral's career when he was in Carolina.
I think one of the things that I talked with Charlie Weiss, as you know, the former NFL and college coach, whose son is now the quarterback's coach at Ole Miss. And in talking to Charlie, who's gotten to know Dart very well because of the association with his son working there on the staff, he said there are so many traits physically that he has to Josh Allen. He is not Josh Allen. Nobody wants to say that. But there are a lot of traits in terms of his running ability, his physical toughness, his frame, his strength, his willingness to take on defenders when he runs. And by the way, he's going to have to be a little more careful when he runs into defenders in the National Football League than he was at the NCAA level. But I talked to Dart himself at the Combine, and when I asked him about what he believes he needs to improve on to become a pro, he said the footwork, because he's only been a shotgun quarterback in college, and he's been doing that now, from what I understand, for the last 3 months at a quarterback school, and also make his progressions faster when he's doing his reads. And that's what you're talking about. And the beauty of it is that Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston will be playing this year. He's got the time to work on that homework.
Even if he stays, I know he's one of these guys that have come in with 5 years of experience. But even if you have a Russell Wilson or a Jameis Winston extend to year 2, there's no rush, because I feel like the Giants will be winning games. this is the best scenario for the Giants, because how often do you get a chance to have a team that is competitive and winning games while working with your QB of the future behind the scenes, or on the side? That's the ideal fit. That's the Kansas City approach. That's the Green Bay approach. That's kind of what you want. Obviously, if you draft a guy in the first round, you're thinking, oh, he could play right away. In some cases, the teams are forced to play their first round pick at quarterback right away. But
Sure.
when you have this luxury of having veterans that started games that are still good veterans, that is not like, I don't want to throw somebody under the bus, but it's almost like not like a Joe Flacco, but these are still young veterans that are still capable of maybe like 2 to 3 years of good play left before they become the Joe Flacco of the league, where you just need spot duty. But these guys can actually play, and you're getting good play while also developing the guy behind the scenes.
All right, let's go to the third round. Darius Alexander, nose tackle out of Toledo. That's the Mid-American Conference, not the highest level of competition, but Emory, his measurables at like 6'4" or so, 305, 310 pounds, a lot of length. Giants look at him as a very active guy who in some ways reminds them of Leonard Williams.
He was my number 3 defensive tackle. So this is another great pick by the Giants and what they were able to do. And Toledo has done a fantastic job of pumping out talent. So you think about last year, Quinyon Mitchell, 2 years before that, Tyron Alexander, the safety that went to the Bengals. So this program, Kareem Hunt, thinking back even further, this program produces studs. So playing in that conference, but playing in this program helps you be ready for the pro game. And what I love about Alexander is a very good combination of skills for the position. You saw, I'm reading my scout report, hand usage, core strength, quickness off the ball, pursues the ball really well. So he does the front of the point of attack, sideline to sideline, front side to backside type deal that you want to see up front. Perfect pairing next to a Dexter Lawrence, because he's very active. Down at the Senior Bowl, I love how every rep he played like he had somewhere to be, right? There's an urgency about his game. Like, I love that about him, and getting him here round 3, and just stacking boxes. Great career, better Senior Bowl week. His trajectory is upward moving.
So quickly, you see him giving them some immediate production as a rookie, correct?
Absolutely, man. And he's another one that always is around the football, which is what you want up front.
All right, we go to the next round, number 4. And by the way, he wore number 4 at Arizona State. Cam Scanabo, the running back who, to me, is going to give the Giants the kind of 1-2 punch that maybe Bradshaw and Jacobs gave them a few years ago. Emory, I was all in on the Giants taking it back. I was hoping they could get him in the 4th round. I didn't think he would drop. But the key to me was you wanted a power back, at least I did, to complement Tracy.
And he was my number 9 RB. So another great pick by the Giants, right? They're checking off these boxes in my eyes. And Scatterboo, here's what I love about him, and I'm glad hopefully more people see it this way. When you look at Scatterboo and you look at his lateral agility and ability to make guys miss, he's, if not on par with Ashton Genty, slightly ahead in that regard in terms of the lateral quickness and the suddenness in terms of, a defender's running right at me, boom, boom, I can make a miss and get out the way. I also love that he's a finisher around the goal line. So he is someone that's going to find a way to make a way to get into the colored part of the end zone frequently. And we saw in the postseason him do a great job of showcasing he's a downfield threat in the passing game, and not just as meets expectations back where you're catching swings, screens, flares, and flats. You can use him in a downfield passing game. And I love the fact that he's someone that is, I have this type of mentality where play 30 is just like play 1 in terms of the same level of energy and grit. And sometimes play 30 may even be better than play 1. But he's going in the right direction in terms of his energy, his enthusiasm, and his fortitude while playing the game.
As I've told a lot of people who maybe don't know much about him, his infectious intensity and energy, really, I can only describe it as Brandon Jacobs-like, because when he makes one of his runs and his helmet pops off, or he knocks over 3 guys, or they slam him down and he pops right back up, it just reminds me a lot of Jacobs and gets the entire huddle energized and gives them a real shot of adrenaline. I can only imagine how great the fans are going to love this kid.
I feel like people, when they watch him play, they think he's like 5'11", 6 feet, 235, but he's really about
He's
5'9",
not.
219, right? So that surprises folks, and I think it surprises defenders in terms of his quickness. So you think you're just getting some big one-cut downhill bruiser, and then you try to run up on him, and he hits you with a little 1-2, and now
Yeah.
you grab an air. So that's something about Scadaboo's game I was very impressed with, going back to Sacramento State, because obviously I cover a lot of FCS football, so very familiar with his game. But I love when guys transfer up to level competition and dominate, and he did.
Right. The fact that he doesn't always have to run people over, he can go around them if he has to. All right, we go to Marcus Bowe, the offensive lineman out of Purdue, who I believe Brian Dable, the head coach, said they're going to try him out at tackle first. I know a lot of people thought he should be a guard first, but I think the consensus, and you may tell me differently, Emory, is that he easily could have gone at least a round earlier.
He's my number 2 guard in the class. So again, I love the pick. Based off my evaluation, the Giants must have brought the draft guide that I put out, because they're knocking it out the park with a lot of my favorite prospects. First line of business in my scout report: super athletic lineman that has a quickness, twitch, and footwork to get anywhere within the front seven and execute any block necessary. So because he can play tackle and has played tackle, he has the footwork of a tackle. And you think about kicking him inside as a guard, and now you got a good pass protector that can mirror and match, play the piano, and pass guys off with stunts and twists and stuff like that. But just like in the first line of the scouting report, him getting outside on the move expands your run game, expands your waggle passing game, your boots, and that your sprint out passing attack. He can help you do all of that. And when you have athletic linemen that play inside, your offense is wide open in terms of what you can do creatively in a run game and also in pass pro. So again, a guy that I had a higher grade on that the Giants selected. Big fan of the pick.
Let's talk about these last two guys for a second. Scadaboo is obviously going to get some reps and he's going to get some production right away. Is Bo the kind of guy that has enough polish on him coming right out that he might be able to compete in training camp to perhaps maybe at least give them a decision to make about the starting lineup?
Yeah, especially at guard. And so if he's if it's even, play the young guy, because you have the veteran that can step in if he starts to struggle. But if it's an even competition and it's a real competition, play the young guy, get him out there, get his feet wet, especially guys that have played at a high level at these Power 4 programs. I know everyone is still thinking about Evan Neal, but man, maybe he was not playing in the right spot. But I love that you can put him out. You got to put these guys out there. But you have the luxury of having a veteran. So maybe you don't start him right away. But if he's pushing him and it's like this all throughout August, and he starts to show it in the preseason game in whatever facet he plays in it, then you listen, maybe we start the youth movement now because we have the luxury of having a solid vet behind him.
All right, let's go to the 6th round. Oops, no 6th round, right? The Giants did not have a 6th round pick, but they had 2 in the 7th, and they start off with tight end Thomas Fredoni out of Nebraska. A couple of years of injuries kind of sidetracked him. Then the last 2 years, he got to play a whole lot more. In fact, I think it was 2 ACLs, if I'm not mistaken, Emory, that really kind of put a little bit of a barrier in his early career. But I tell you, this guy certainly has a lot of enthusiasm to be able to overcome what he's overcome to make it to the NFL.
You ready for this, Paul? My number 2 H-back.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. So again, the Giants are killing it, right? So and remember, he was a highly touted high school tight end, and he got hurt in high school, which kind of had him take the 2 years to get ready to get on the field in Nebraska. And then he got hurt, and so he was dealing with injuries. But man, you talk about somebody that's able to block extremely well on the move. So he's able to make those stalk blocks and angle blocks or whatever you want, those kickouts, those whams, all in the run game. And when you get the ball in his hands, he's kind of a guy that breaks a lot of tackles. So he's got the good quickness in all directions. So he's able to work himself open versus zone. For him, it's just about making sure you stay healthy. And at times, he does play a little bit high with his pad level. So pad level has to become much more consistent, especially when he's blocking. Because if you get too high, you're getting moved by the defender. You don't have leverage. But man, I just love his quickness. I love his agility. And if he can stay healthy, this is someone that could play very well off of a Theo Johnson.
Well, they've also got Bellinger, Manhurts, and Dulcich, who, when he came out of
Oof.
UCLA a few years
Listen,
ago, was a really highly thought of receiving tight end who also has been sidetracked by injury during his early career with Denver. And I thought it was interesting that when Russell Wilson got here to the Giants, he talked about throwing to Dulcich when they were both with the Broncos. So, how do you see this tight end room competition?
well, this is something that we used to see San Francisco do, where you get a guy and you have that pseudo redshirt year. So you may see them allow Fadone to get his body right, and he may not play this year. And it's a chance for him to kind of get healthy so you could maximize his full potential. Because you're absolutely right. Greg Dulcich was one of my top H backs as well when he came out of UCLA. And it's the injuries, because Dulcich is a catch and run guy. You put the
Yes.
ball in his hands and he's gone. You know what I'm saying? And so that type of athleticism is still there. It's just about being healthy. So when you expand this tight end room, like you talked about, you may see this guy get reps, and you may see him, do a little something in the preseason and the OTAs and training camp, but he may be a long-term plan for them, one of these redshirt type guys that they have, and allow him to get his body right, get him fully healthy to where he can play without the brace and come out there and really be a star.
The Giants' final pick, it was in the 7th round. They got Corey Black, cornerback out of Oklahoma State. And when I talked to Joe Shane after the draft was all over, Emory, away from the press conference, he said that this was not just a special teams pick. Although Black has played well on special teams, he said he's got some corner skills, and they think he's a guy who might be able to play some depth chart corner on the defense.
He's my number 11 boundary corner. So again, at this 7th round, getting a guy that's within the top 10, close to the top 10, is a big time value based off my own grades and my own report. So I'm a big fan of him, right? First line, excellent speed and quickness, so much so that he's able to adequately follow crossing routes. We know how hard it is for these corners to follow crossing routes. This dude is lockstep with these receivers across the field. And then when he's playing off coverage, he has the patience, because he has the explosiveness and the quickness to really play that upfield shoulder. And if they break off the route, he's boom, 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 quickly and heading back the other way. So tackling has to improve. He has to be better as a tackler in the open field.
Mhm.
But in terms of coverage, this was somebody I was shocked that we didn't see at any All-Star game or even at the combine, because he's a
Mhm.
fantastic athlete and one that started to gain a lot of buzz as we got closer to the draft. So at the beginning of the month, you started to hear a lot from scouts saying like, hey, man, keep an eye on Corey Black. Keep an eye on Corey Black. And lo and behold, this guy gets drafted. So I'm glad the Giants got. He's a big corner, 6 feet, 190, with good athleticism.
And then, of course, keeping in mind the Giants' cornerbacks over the years, certainly the last several years, have had tremendous injury issues. I mean, Cordell Flott, who the Giants like a lot and has done some pretty good things. In fact, I think he's improved since he got here, but he has trouble staying on the field. So this is
Right.
an issue.
Yeah, and again, health is all. That's the one thing you can't really quantify, but it's hard because you want guys to be fully healthy when they're out there. But at the end of the day, man, like that's the wild card of it all. And so if they can stay healthy, good. If not, this is why you draft guys like Corey Black, because you're building good quality depth behind those guys.
All right. So I take it you think there could be some snaps for him at some point this season.
Listen, core special teamer is already a way to get on the field. That's
Yeah.
number one. And then within the defense, yes, there'll be opportunities for him to get out there and showcase his skills, especially because he has the requisite height, weight, speed, athleticism that you want at the position.
It sounds like you like the entire Giants draft. So do you really have a sleeper here? Because all of these guys caught your eye long before the selection process.
Right. There's no sleeper. There's no diamond in the rough. But I will say this, I'll be out there with minicamp and rookie minicamp. I saw they signed Rashawn Baker, the running back out of Elon. But here's the thing. I was on the broadcast when he played at Bucknell, and he was a freshman. They played Georgetown.
Mhm.
I was like, this back is a monster. He's from the Bronx. He's like 6 feet, 230 or
Mhm.
225. Good speed, good quickness, good contact balance. He's a very good runner. Also, Daquan Felton, the undrafted rookie free agent out of Virginia Tech, my number 8 inside wide receiver. I call him the big inside receivers, kind of like that Marcus Colston position where you're playing tight to the line of scrimmage, but you can
Sure.
still play X, big slot type of guy. So listen, I'm gonna have to go check my record, see if people in the Giants facility bought this draft guy, because like I can't find one, like whether or not we agree or disagree on on the quarterback, but at the end of the day, that's still a good player in a good situation. So there's really no knock that I have about the Giants draft. It's crazy how this is an A+ draft, in my opinion. And again, I know people say we can't grade the draft 2 to 3 years from now. I'm talking about just in terms of the prospects they've brought in. Now, whether they pan out is a different story. That's when you wait 2 to 3 years. But just a talent acquisition, A+.
One other name I want to throw at you that has reportedly been an undrafted rookie free agent that may be here is Dart's Ole Miss teammate, Juice Wells, the wide receiver, who some people are very excited about. His production's been a little bit up and down.
Well, listen, my number 7 split in. So, and I've been a fan of Wells when he was at James Madison, when James Madison was in the FCS. And I was like, oh, this boy is going to be a problem. And then he transfers up. And I was like, man, if he just waited, JMU moved up to FBS, but he transferred. And, so here's someone, he was playing bigger than his size. I thought he was like 6'3", but he came in at 6 feet 201. Good tracking of the ball, good physicality. I mean, Wells is someone that if this is why I always tell some prospects that I talk to when I'm doing these games. You know this, we both do small college games. Like, man, sometimes it's good to be the big fish in the small pond. Like, because we know the scouts will come to you, and plus you're going to get the time on task. Because if you're going to start bouncing around schools like Wells did, people kind of get lost in what you can do. But man, he is a dog and a big dog at receiver, and something that the Giants could definitely utilize.
He is Emory Hunt, one of my good friends out there on the Giants beat. We see Emory quite often coming out to Giants practice. Always love talking ball with you, Emory. Where can people catch you, either on the air or get some stuff on the print?
They can follow me on Twitter at FBall Gameplan. And now is probably the best time to pick up the Football Game Plan Draft Guide. Over 1,200 individual scouting reports. And we also threw in over 50 CFL draft scouting reports. The CFL draft is Wednesday, April 29th. So you'll be able to get familiar with some of these guys that we've seen at Giants camp and other places. Guys are coming in on these mini camp invites, or sometimes as training camp undrafted free agents. Get familiar with everybody, man. So that way, when the roster constantly is transient, you have a good scouting report on whoever the Giants bring in. And so you can get that at footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide.
All right, Emory, I'll see you out at Giants rookie minicamp. It's at the end of next week. Hopefully the weather holds up, man. 70 degrees and sunny this week. We're enjoying it in North Jersey. I'll tell you that right now.
Hey, you don't have to tell me twice, man. I appreciate you, Paul. I look forward to seeing you at rookie minicamp with your polo and shorts on.
There you go. I'll see you, Emory. Be good. Thank you so much. Emory Hunt joining us from CBS Sports HQ and Football Game Plan. A friend of the program, always a really good guy to see out at Giants camp. He always appreciates the old school mentality. We love chopping it up sometimes, and I tell him stories about Parcells and George Young and some of those Giants greats from years past. All right, so let's get to your chats. I thought that Emory had some great information on each of the picks, as well as some of the reported undrafted rookie free agents that are coming the Giants' way. And as you could tell, even though he had Dart lower on his quarterback list, he was willing to give him the chance to develop, saying, well, even though he was quarterback, I believe he said he might have been quarterback 9, because of the time that he's going to be able to sit, learn, and polish up his game. Even Emory said, no matter where you rank him right now coming out of the box, he will have a chance to grow into the role. And so by the time the Giants need him, even Emory said there's no telling how good he could be. So really great analysis from our man, Emory Hunt. All right, let's get over to our chats. And don't forget, folks, in fact, let me pull this out. I'll get you your link right here for StreamYard. And we're going to throw this out here for you. If you want to join the program, please, by all means, here is the link. And you guys can hit me up with an audio or video call. And all I can say, folks, before as I get to your tweets is, listen, we all know, and I say this all the time, it does take 3 years to grade a draft. You never know what could happen to a player in his rookie season. Circumstances could sidetrack him. Then his second year, you hope you get something out of him. And then by his third year, he's got to break out. Now, hey, nothing says he can't break out as a rookie. I mean, a guy like Abdul Carter, you're going to expect a ton of production out of him as a rookie. All right, I get that. You want a ton of production out of your third round pick and out of your fourth round pick right away if you can get it. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't, you can afford to wait any time between that 3-year period before a guy busts out. If he does take 3 years and busts out in season number 3, it's okay. Now, the thing with the Giants is they won only 3 games last year. So they're looking to be much more competitive now. So they do need picks number 1, pick number 3, pick number 4. Those guys, okay, those guys right out of the box, the Giants are going to need significant production out of Carter, out of Alexander, and out of Scatterbo. Those guys are going to have to give the Giants something right away. Now, whether or not Bo does, the offensive lineman out of Purdue, you heard Emory, he thinks maybe he could challenge for a starting job at training camp. I'm not so sure about that, but maybe he does. The Giants have a whole bunch of guards who are going to fight for a spot. You think that John Runyon's probably going to start at left guard, but who's the starting right guard? Evan Neal's going to get a chance to win that job. Greg Van Roten is back, who played solid, consistent ball last year and was the only Giant on the offensive line who played all 17 games. Then you've got a guy like Jake Kubas, who the coaching staff really likes and is coming back for his second season. So, there are players here that the Giants, they have numbers at the right guard position. So the truth of the matter is, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure who's going to win, but may the best man win because there's going to be competition there. And that's the key. Aaron Stinney's also back. I forgot about him. And, of course, Joshua Azudu. The Giants have a lot of guys who they could basically throw into a pot and say, someone rise to the top. And whoever it is, that's going to be your starting right guard. All right, let's see what we have here today. Christine says she's back with us. Very excited for the show. Well, thank you, Christine. I appreciate it. Big Blue says, good evening. Many boxes checked. Love your reaction when the pick was announced on Scatterbo. Any updates on the undrafted rookie free agents? Looking forward to the show. Well, you just heard Emory Hunt just went over 3 specific names that have been reportedly linked to the Giants, and he was very high on all of them. Now, let me make something clear before we go any further in this program about undrafted rookie free agents. Here's what you need to remember. The rookie minicamp does not start until a week from Thursday, okay? All of the reports that you're reading on the internet or in the blogs or on the tweets, wherever they're coming from, even from the schools, the players themselves, the agents, here's the thing you must remember. None of these players are signed. They'll say they're signed, but they're not. They have reached a verbal agreement to be with the team. Now, what has to happen is when the rookie minicamp comes your way on May 8th, on Thursday, Thursday, May 8th, these players, all of these players who are supposedly agreeing to deals are going to get to the Meadowlands. They'll come to the Giants facility. They will take a physical, and then they will be presented with the contract that they were verbally promised and verbally agreed to. Once they sign that contract, they now get a uniform and can go out onto the field, during rookie minicamp. Until that time, They are not part of the Giants. So please understand, the unofficial lists that you're seeing and reading everywhere are not official. These guys are not part of the Giants yet. In fact, I can tell you, over the 43 years that I will be covering the Giants, I can tell you for a fact that each and every year, guys who they have verbally agreed to sometimes drop out. They will drop out because they decided, I don't want to go to New York. I'd rather go somewhere else. And they will verbally back out of the deal and then go to another team. Maybe they're closer to home. Or maybe they just decided that there was a better chance to compete somewhere else and they got another offer. And so guys will verbally back out of these deals and wind up landing with another squad. In addition to that, sometimes these guys will come in and fail their physicals, and then they don't get signed at all, and they simply go back home. So don't get too excited about any reports you see about undrafted rookie free agents. That's why you don't see me on my Twitter page comment about these guys. I know better. I have never seen, and I mean this, I have never seen a 100% correct undrafted rookie free agent list ever from anybody. Have never seen it, because all of these names that are being collected from everywhere and then some, there's no validity to these guys being Giants until they have a physical and they sign their papers. And again, some of these guys will actually back out of their verbal deals and they won't even make it to their physicals because they decided they were going to another team. So please be very, very careful when you look at these lists. Don't put too much stock in them. Aiden Fick says, good evening. The Big Moo says, hi, guys. And a little bit earlier, while we were with Emory Hunt, Tudo was in there once again from that Italian rugby team. He says here, greetings from me and all my family in Princeton. Great draft by the Giants. So says Tudo. Hey, no one's going to argue with you, Tudo. The Giants checked all the boxes. On paper, and that's all it is. On paper, the football Giants did extremely well with value meeting need. We told you on this program that they were going to have to get enhancements to the front seven, specifically at defensive tackle, and they would take Hunter or Carter, whoever was left. They were not going to take a quarterback at 3. I also believe it was still an option for them not to take a quarterback at all. But as I mentioned to you, if they were going to go after a quarterback and maybe trade up into the bottom of the first round, or if they would wait, the 3 quarterbacks in order would be Dart, Shuck, or McCord. Well, guess what? They got Dart. And Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network had said going into the draft in the last 36 hours or so before the selection process began, he had the Giants trading with the Seattle Seahawks to grab Dart at 18. In exchange, they were giving up a second-round draft pick in 2026. That's what he put on his mock. Well, the Giants didn't even have to go to 18. They wound up getting Dart at 25. And they only had to surrender a third-rounder this year and a third-rounder next year. Unbelievable how this all went down. Very, very fortuitous situation for the Giants to get a potential young franchise quarterback and only 2 third-round picks as the price. And, of course, one of the third-rounders, the one this year, was number 99, the compensatory pick that was really a bonus given to them off of the value to offset the Xavier McKinney signing the previous year with the Green Bay Packers. So can't say enough about what Joe Schoen did in this draft. Christine says, obviously, hand clapping for Emory Hunt, one of the really good guys on the beat. Big Moose says Emory is one of my favorites. Emory, I'll pass this along. I promise you, I will let you know how much the fans enjoyed having you on the program. Harlem X says, hey, everybody. And says, I'm still a new regular. Job schedule keeps me away. Well, Harlem X, we do try to keep a consistent schedule Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time for the live program. But this was the weekend of the NFL draft. I didn't think you guys wanted to wait till Wednesday to either comment, ask your questions, chat. Hopefully someone's going to come in with an audio or a video call. And again, all you need to do is go to the StreamYard link at the bottom of the screen here, and you can join. But I just thought that it was more important to come on Monday this week so we could get right in here and get cracking on this draft. And what do you know? There we go. Harlem X. He joins us on the program. He's taking the dive and becoming a video caller. How you doing?
My phone, oh my goodness. As soon as you accepted a call, my phone dropped. Okay. I'm sorry.
I got you, man. We're all good.
Okay. I cannot follow Emory, man, because he's, as much as I enjoy Emory, the dude is so positive, and what I got to say ain't going to be so positive. So
that's okay.
I got something good. I got something bad.
Okay.
The good thing might put a smile on your face. So I don't know if you want to hear that one first or the bad part.
It's quite all right. You could start with the good. Why not?
All right. I'm going to try to make this short because I know this is going to, I don't want to waste up too much of your time, but back, let me see, because I always say, I told you before, I coach kids now, but I used to play all the time.
Uh-huh.
And back in like I have this letter here. Okay, that I was going through my storage in my new apartment in my storage bins, and I had these things in storage for a long time, and I completely forgot about it. But in 1999, I had heard somewhere somebody was saying something. I don't know if I heard it correctly. Maybe you know because you're on the inside. That it was either the Giants or some other team or somewhere in the NFL that they were accepting or not accepting, but toying with the idea of allowing like walk-ons to try out during free agency or whatever. So
I don't remember that, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, somebody put that in my ear back then. And, back then I was just on top of the world when it came to football. I was like just starting out and wasn't nobody seeing me on the football field. So I was at the top of my confidence. I was good as all hell. So I decided to write the Giants a letter to request a tryout.
Okay.
And I got this letter back in the mail.
What position did you play, by the way?
I was a cornerback, but I was dabbling also. I was a cornerback / kick and punt returner.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got this letter in the mail, and people everywhere was asking me, who did I play for? Who did I play for? Because I was actually that damn good, and I will pat myself on the chest for that. But the letter said, we have received your letter expressing a desire for a tryout for the New York Giants. We appreciate interest in the Giants, but are unable to offer you a tryout opportunity due to roster limitations and other factors. We have decided to discontinue our free agent tryout. That's where the tryout part comes at, where I thought somebody put it in my head.
Okay.
So, and it says, you may want to contact other clubs in the league regarding their free agent tryouts. So that's where I was stuck on. I'm thinking somebody had to put that in my head. Otherwise, I would have never even attempted something like this. And it's signed. I don't know if you can see this. If you can see it on the camera. It's signed Dave Gettleman, Director of Pro Personnel.
Yep.
Whenever I need any type of inspiration, anything like that, because around the time when I did this was coming off a real dark period in my life. the story behind that is just, oh my goodness. But anytime I look for any type of inspiration now, because I just found this a week ago, and it's been in storage all these years. I almost brought tears to my eyes. But yeah, now any type of inspiration I need now, that's basically, I'm laminating that. That's going up on the wall.
Well, that's awesome. I'll be honest with you. I think everybody should try to find that push button item that allows them
Yeah.
to push forward whenever they face a dark period. So first
Yes,
of
sir.
all, I'm glad you're over it now because obviously you're doing very well. I can see how your enthusiasm, and you're a very upbeat guy. I love when you call the program. So I'm glad that you're in a good way. Where did you play, by the way?
I was oh my goodness, you're not gonna believe this. Okay. When I first started playing football, I started playing in '94, but I didn't play organized. It was just it's a story behind the whole thing. It's a long
Was it
story.
semi-pro?
Everybody was trying to push me to play semi-pro, and I kept telling them I don't know anything about it. I don't know if there's any possibility to go pro, so I left it alone. They wanted me to go to arena. I'm like, I don't want to do that. There's no possibility to go pro, so I left it alone. I just kept doing that. So I went to college, and they fooled me because I had went to a small school in Sullivan County, and back then I didn't know the difference. I didn't know what intramural meant. So, I looked on a brochure and I got accepted to the college. And the dean there in the college told me, I'm like, do y'all have a football team here? Because I see it on a brochure, but that was intramural. I didn't know what it meant. And she said, oh, yeah, we have football, and left it at that. So I signed up real quick. Okay, I'm going to this school. Yeah. Didn't have intramural. They didn't have a football team. So I decided I'm going to go to another school. I went to a school up in Canton. They had a football team. And guess who was their coach at the time? You know who Lou Saban is? Nick Saban's father?
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, sir. He was their coach at the time. And that man, when you talk about somebody being a hard nut to crack,
Oh, yeah.
Boy, I remember he made this one guy cry. The things he used to say to us was just, oh my goodness. But man, people wanted to play for him, but that man was just, whoa. I still remember him. He always had this funny way of talking, like, I'm gonna make a man out of you. Your mother sent you up here to me to make a man out of you. He would always say that. He would always talk like that. But yeah, then here's why. I was a defensive back, cornerback.
Right.
And I was the best cornerback they had on that team. But I'm finally thinking I'm finally gonna get my chance. We got blown out so bad in the first game that the coach just lined us up. D-back coach lined us up. He was like, okay, the position is yours for the next game. It's yours to lose. We can't have this happen again. I go back to my dorm on top of the world, and I wake up the next day and my tonsils blew up so bad I couldn't even breathe. So I had to withdraw from school.
Oh.
Yeah, so the next year I come back for this football team again. And this time I signed up, that D-back coach who loved me, he was gone. But the head coach knew who I was. They loved my work ethic and everything. So I'm playing. And little did I know, because half the team they recruited from Florida. So, and this is all the way up in New York. And little did I know, he recruited a coach who coached these guys from Florida. So nobody in New York got to see the field. So the entire season, once again, I'm the best in practice. Even girls was coming from the campus to watch us play and was asking, why aren't you in? No one else is doing what you're doing. Okay. So at the end of the season, he gave me like 2 minutes to play. All right. Okay.
Man.
So then I decided, you know what? I'm going to take a year off. I'm just going to see how they do online. And you can check this. It's still online right now. The team only scored 1 touchdown the entire season. Not 1 touchdown per game. 1 touchdown the entire season. I called up the coach. Coach, what happened? He cursed me out. Where were you at? We could have used you. Why didn't you come back to school? He yelled at me for like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, coach, I'm signing up right now. I'm signing the papers. I got accepted to the school. Semester started. I get up to the campus. They don't have a football team anymore. They got rid of the program.
No.
So that's when I gave up. That's when I gave up. It just kept getting taken away from me. Yeah, it just kept getting taken away from me over and over. Yeah, so that's when I gave up and I turned to coaching. But I mean, man, you know, it's still in my heart though. It's still in my heart. I still, even though I'm about to be 50, you know, it's still, and my back is all types of messed up. Got sciatica, tendonitis in both shoulders. Still can't nobody see me on the field. I don't care what nobody. Even the kids I coach, they always say, "But you're old. Come on, man. What's wrong? What's up? You're supposed to be old, man. You can't be doing this." You know, still, nah, man. Nah.
But your spirit is young,
you know, I'm still a
and
man
that's
on
what
the floor.
matters the most. Keep a young spirit. That's the key.
Yeah.
Okay, now what do you have to tell me
I
that's
keep up
bad?
with him.
Because to me, this is a success story. It's a success story. You have a great attitude and a positive outlook despite all of the hurdles you've dealt with. So to me, that's very positive.
Oh yeah, but not what I'm about to say.
Okay, lay it on me.
This season, I'm boycotting. I'm boycotting this season. And it's not because they didn't do what I wanted them to do. It's not because of I wanted them to draft Shedeur, but this is not a Shedeur Sanders thing.
Okay.
Hell, it's not even a Jackson Dart thing. This is a Giants management thing. I am tired. It has been almost 30 years of this. I am tired because it seems like, and okay, this is not me bash. This is not an Eli Manning thing. For some reason, ever since we got Eli Manning, the Maras have been trying their damnness to find another Eli Manning, specifically a Manning. When they drafted Daniel Jones, I didn't think nothing of it. I never heard about the kid before. You know, so you can't, like you confirmed everything I've been saying for a long time. You don't know who any quarterback is specifically until after their third year. Now, they drafted Daniel Jones. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm going to give him a chance.
Sure.
But then, like an idiot, I'm listening to ESPN, and everybody said he went to the Manning camp. And he even looks like Eli Manning. The Maras like him because he has attachments to Manning. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I didn't get mad about it, but I'm like, okay.
Before you go any further, Harlem X, you understand that the Manning camp is the most popular quarterback club in the entire nation for college quarterbacks to go to. So, you know, the truth of the matter is many of the quarterbacks that are going to wind up in the NFL at one time or another have passed through the Manning camp. So don't hold that against anybody because that's where they all try to get into.
No. I don't hold the Manning camp against. This is not that. This is all about them. Like they were even saying the Giants weren't saying this, but I'm stupid for listening to ESPN. But they was talking about They was talking about all the connections to the Mannings and that Daniel Jones had, and how he even looks like Eli Manning. And I'm just scratching, and I'm just like, I wasn't mad at that point, but I'm just like, yo, okay. I'm gonna let it. All right, I'm just gonna. Okay. So then, fast forward to now, Jackson. First, they didn't draft Shedeur Sanders. Take that for what it is. I wish they would have drafted him, but then they got Jackson Dart. Truth be told, full disclosure, I only heard his name like 3 times before this draft. I don't know who this kid is. I know nothing about him, and I know nothing about him. Clean slate. I'm going to see what he is. But then the Manning camp stuff started coming out again, and then all of a sudden, like the last couple of days, I'm hearing Joe Shane's daughter went to Ole Miss. Oh, Eli Manning with the Ole Miss. He broke all of Eli Manning's records at Ole Miss. And then, okay. All right. But then combine that. Brian Daboll. I never had a problem with Brian Daboll until maybe a week ago because I'm starting to connect the dots now. Can you please explain to me, since you always have this way of changing my mind about stuff, but can you please explain to me, is Brian Daboll, I don't find him to be a quarterback. Is he typecast? Because his claim to fame is Josh Allen. And if you look at Daniel Jones, okay, people were talking about these other networks about how this reminds Daboll of Josh Allen. Now, this guy comes up, Jackson Dart. He's not built like Josh Allen, of course, but it reminds him of he finally got his guy. He wanted him so bad. It reminds him of Josh Allen. If you are type, okay, I don't care what position you play or what position you say you coach. If you are only known, recognized, or even good at coaching one style, I can't really call you a coach. Instead of these guys, a coach is a teacher first. Instead of these guys teaching these quarterbacks to be quarterbacks, who think like quarterbacks, to move like quarterbacks, work on their quarterback fundamentals, they're working on, he's a running quarterback, so that's what I'm going to build. That's what we're going to go with. No, teach this kid. You should be able to coach a kid who's running or pocket passing. It should not matter.
Let me stop you there for a minute, because I think I know where you're going. Let me just give you a list of quarterbacks who Brian Daboll has worked with. It's not just Josh Allen. So let me give you that first before we go anywhere else, so that you have a little bit of a better idea about his credentials.
Yes, please.
Quarterbacks who he has worked with, either as an offensive coordinator or has been a quarterbacks coach or a receivers coach who was part of the passing game coalition. Okay, so guys who he has been around and been a part of their process. All right, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, Brett Favre, Chad Pennington, Kellen Clemens, and also he was in New England with Tom Brady. It's a pretty long list of guys who have done some things in this league. So yes, his resume is not just Josh Allen. He has been around a number of quarterbacks who have succeeded, and done some things in the game of football. So let me give you that first. And I don't think everybody necessarily knows all of those connections that he's had, but the branches do extend beyond Josh Allen. Okay? You following me?
I got you.
All right. Second point. In terms of Jackson Dart, the way he reminds you of Josh Allen, and I've had people say, even Charlie Weiss, and I know you know who Charlie Weiss is, former Giants assistant coach, who has gone on to do a lot of things in the NFL and in college. His son, Charlie Weiss Jr., is the quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator with Ole Miss. Okay? I just talked to Charlie today, and Charlie even said, Dart has a lot of the same qualities physically that Josh Allen has. He's thick. He's strong for a quarterback. He's not afraid to run and take on defenders and take extra yardage. He's got the ability to make all the throws. His arm is not as strong as Josh Allen, but it's strong enough where he can still make all the throws. And he's got that it thing, the guts, the leadership, the ability to hold guys accountable, hold himself accountable, and to inspire guys in the huddle to have confidence and have the wherewithal to get the job done. These are the kinds of things that he shows that do mirror Josh Allen. He is not Josh Allen. Please, I don't want people to keep saying that he is Josh Allen, because he's not. But he does have some similar qualities that happen to be some of the top priorities that Daboll prefers on his quarterback list. Now, unfortunately for Brian Daboll, he inherited Daniel Jones. And so, it's almost unfair. While I understand that Jones had great progress when Brian Daboll was here in 2022 and had his best season, and certainly Daboll did deserve a lot of credit for that. But as the variety of circumstances wound up hindering Jones in the ensuing games that he played in the next 2 years, well, guess what? Unfortunately, Brian Daboll just couldn't get him out of the quicksand, was unable to necessarily get that thing fixed. And so it is what it is. But that doesn't erase the fact that his resume includes a long list of quarterbacks who did succeed in the game. And so you have to say the percentages are that Brian Daboll has a good opportunity to get the next guy who he is, by the way, in part, the reason why he was drafted. You'd have to believe that he's got a better than 50-50 chance of making this guy work out. And that's about as simplistic as I can give it to you.
See, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. I was really about ready to write Daboll off. You're doing it again. You always do this. You always do this. Man. I was about
ready. Max, listen. I love when you call, and I don't want you to boycott the season because I want you to stay with the program. I enjoy having you on. You're one of the guys who has the guts enough to call on the video, and I love that you do. I really do. And I wasn't trying to convince you to change your mind. I simply wanted to make sure that you have all of the facts and some of the rationale as to why some people do believe and do have some positivity when they consider this equation. You don't have to change your mind if you don't want to.
No. That's the thing. It's not about you trying to change my mind. Information is what I need. So basically, I didn't know any of that stuff that you said.
Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for information.
It's information that I need because my thing, and is this a personal thing for me? I love being wrong. I love it because if I'm right all the time, I'm not learning anything. I try to push that off to these kids that I coach. If you feel like I'm just the man and you ain't learning nothing, man, you're going to be sitting on the bench somewhere. No, you need to learn, So
let me give you something. I want you to tell this to your team, okay? I've been saying this for the longest time because as I went through the early years of covering the Giants and the National Football League, I was green, just like a head of lettuce. I was green and I had to make my way. And what I finally learned after being around the NFL for 7-8 years, I finally learned that the smartest people know what they don't know. And once you figure that out, you are willing to learn, to develop, and to become better and more knowledgeable. But you got to start with knowing what you don't know. That's the key, in my opinion, of becoming somebody who can be better than what you currently are.
Absolutely. But one thing I'm sorry, but I can't change. I'm going to have to boycott this season. I can't because
my man, don't leave me. Don't leave me.
No, because that's not Jackson Dart isn't the end of it. Once again, and this is the last part of it. Once again, listening to ESPN like an idiot. This fool, this whole everybody's joking over there about the Giants tanking to get the next Manning. Like this the Arch Manning coming out of college.
That's not.
So
happening.
Basically, if you really, no, I know it better not. It better not happen.
It's not happening. But you're not going to know that if you don't watch.
No. I don't need to watch. I got confidence in this team. I want this team to do good. I want them to make the playoffs. I want them to make the Super Bowl. But I'm telling you, if they, oh my goodness, if they draft, worst case scenario, they draft the next Manning, that means they basically drafted with premium picks Jackson Dart, they basically drafted Jim Sorgi. Come on, man. That would put me over.
Oh, come on. Look,
No.
remember,
Listen here
I got
now.
one other
Jim
item for you.
Sorgi backed up Peyton Manning his entire.
I know. Harlem X, let me tell you something. And I tell people this too all the time, and they don't want to listen, but I know you will. Anytime that you present a hypothetical, it can go either way. And there are too many people in this world today who present a hypothetical and automatically assume the negative will happen. They don't understand that a hypothetical also means the positive can happen as well. That's what makes it a hypothetical, is that you don't know which way it's going to go.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Worst case scenario. So anybody listening out there, I am not hoping for this. Okay? I am not hoping for this. But Jim Sorgi backed up Peyton Manning his entire career, then went over to the Giants to back up Eli. So it's like, really?
Look, here's what I'm going to say.
Come on, man.
I want to leave you with this because I do want to get to the chats and these other people also to participate. Harlem X, I love having you on the show.
Sorry.
It's okay. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I love having you on the show, and that's why I don't want to lose you, okay? Because you're a fun guy, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your respect, and I appreciate your excitement and emotion for the game. And I also love the fact that you coach kids, because I think that's really cool. It's a great responsibility. So here's what I will say to you. I don't know what Jackson Dart's going to be, but I do believe that he's got enough of traits. Heck, he was my second favorite quarterback in this draft after Cam Ward. I've said that on the show many times. I thought that Dart, if they were going to go for somebody, Dart would be the best guy for them to go for. I think he does have the tools to get it done, and I do think that Dable is a guy who can bring those tools out. But that's just my opinion. You don't have to share that opinion. But here's what I will say about the whole Arch Manning thing. Both Mannings, Eli and Peyton, stayed in school for the duration. Neither one came out early. And they were better for staying in school for their entire college careers. I'm not so sure that Arch Manning is going to come out early because he has seen what the other two Mannings did by staying for the full commitment. So I'm not so sure that anybody should tank for Arch because, after all, he's getting millions and millions of dollars in NIL money too. So there's another reason why he might want to stay. So you may not see him come into the draft until the following season. So anybody who says tank for Arch, they better double check, their rationale behind that statement.
Really, because I'm serious, man. I cannot keep doing this Manning thing because you don't want to get me started on Eli. That's another show for another day. But
look at it this way. If Russell Wilson performs well this year and the Giants do well, okay?
That's what I wanted. Russell Wilson, whether it's Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston, real quick, you are going to see what I was saying last time. Jalen Hyatt is a great receiver, man. He just needed somebody to throw him the ball who was a
Wilson
legit
can get it to him.
He will. Just watch. Mark my words. Jalen Hyatt is going to blow up this season. He's going to show everybody what I was saying. He is a great receiver. He just had nobody throwing him the ball.
I hope so. I'm with you. And then the Giants can get back to respectability with a nice season. And if Jackson Dart isn't ready next year, well, maybe they re-sign Wilson. Maybe Russell Wilson is the quarterback for 2 seasons.
I'm with that.
And you know what? If that's what it takes, and Jackson Dart isn't ready to take over until 27, well, then who cares? Look, the worst thing you could do, and I know you know this as a coach, is to put some guy into the lineup when he's not prepared or not ready to produce.
Oh, I'm definitely there with you. Let him sit for at least a year. Look at what they did with Jordan Love. I mean, come on. He sat for like 19 years, and look at him now. Really. I'm old school, man.
All right, my friend. I'm going to let you go tonight.
One last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The reason why I haven't been, because my job schedule goes straight through Wednesday, so I can't. That's why I haven't been on here.
I
So it
got
goes
you.
straight through. But that's about it. I'm sorry to take up all your time.
No.
Rambling.
Don't be sorry. I think all of our, I'm going to go through this chat list now, and I bet you there's a bunch of people on there who are happy that you called in because they probably enjoy talking to you as much as I do.
All right, man. Well, good.
You
And
be
keep
well,
going,
okay?
do what you're doing. And thanks again.
All right, and remember something. The season doesn't start technically until September, so that means you can stick with me until then.
Okay, yeah. All right. I'll make up my mind on a boycott around then. Okay.
You be good, Harlem X. Thank you.
All right.
Take care. Oh, he's one of our fun callers. I tell you what, that's quite a story he had there. And I certainly hope all the best for him, his team, and always hope the best for the Giants as well. Isaac Morris says, none of us know what Dart could be, but he definitely has the tools to be good. Oh, by the way, here's Tudo again. Oh, my goodness, he's doing it again. Paulie, please set your alarm clocks and calendars on July 4th, 6 a.m. Eastern Time, Team Italy versus South Africa in Johannesburg, and witness the O-line destroyer in action, mate. Please pray hard for my victims. Holy smokes, you got that, folks? July 4th, 6 a.m. Eastern Time, Italy against South Africa in rugby. And I tell you something, Tudo, you would love Cam Scatterbo. Coming out of Arizona State, the Giants' 4th-round draft choice. This guy is like a comic book hero and legend out at Arizona State. He's like, in a way, let me kind of give you a blend here. He's kind of like Henry Hynoski and Brandon Jacobs and Rob Carpenter from years ago, all rolled into one. That's what this guy is. You're going to love him. I bet you. I don't want to say that. No, we don't use the word bet. Not on this program. No, we don't do that because I don't gamble. Never have, never will. But I would surmise to you that if Cam Scatterbo had an opportunity to play rugby, he would not only do it, he would be the first guy running out of the locker room onto the field. You are going to absolutely, you and your guys are going to be so pumped watching this guy run the ball for the New York Football Giants. 4th-round draft choice out of Arizona State. All right, let's get back to our live chats. And again, folks, don't be afraid to audio call or video call into the program. I love talking to you folks. I know it's hard to top Harlem X because he's such a fun dude. I love chatting with him. And that's a very, very tough act to follow, for sure. There's no question about it. But it's okay. It's okay. Let's see here. We got how many more people do we have here? All right, here we go. Robert Mead says, Scatterbo is a great pickup. Reminds me of Tampa Bay's Mike Allstott. Yeah, you could certainly use Allstott. He is a fullback type because he's a powerful bruising runner. How about Jusek from San Francisco, from the 49ers? I think there's some similarities with him too. Because remember, as you just heard Emory Hunt talk about, and I saw it on video, I mean, we all love to salivate over the way that Scatterbo goes after defenders and knocks through them and moves the pile and burrows his way through. And, we all admire that and love that. That's the stuff that really gets people cheering and screaming. But as Emory said, and it's true if you watch the video, he does have some cutting ability to where he fools people sometimes. They think he's coming right at them and he's going to lower the boom. And then all of a sudden he makes that one little shifty move and he's gone. He just leaves them in his wake and it's another 15 yards of open field before somebody else tries to tackle him. And then good luck to them because he's got a head of steam already built up. Mysterious One says, cheers to Tudo. For sure. Everybody loves Tudo. Isaac wants to know how the weather is over there by him. Oh, man. Christine says, Scatterbo is a dog. Yeah, he certainly is. There's no doubt about that. All right. Isaac Moore says, all good, Paisan. Everybody chatting it up here amongst themselves over on the side. Absolutely. Great stuff. I love to see this community join our program and exchange pleasantries. That's great stuff because the fan base, needs to have that camaraderie. It certainly helps when Sunday comes around and you can watch the game knowing that you have a lot of other fans in the brotherhood who are pulling and feeling the same emotions that you have. Mysterious One says, do you think we did enough to make a strong push in the division? Well, you know what? I think the Philadelphia Eagles drafted well as too. I don't think Dallas had quite the draft that Philadelphia had. Eagles drafted real well. Dallas drafted well, I thought. Washington did not particularly draft so well, but they got Lattimore and Samuel in trades. Okay. So Lattimore is a really good DB, veteran who's done a lot of things in this league. Debo Samuel, also, picking him up in a trade. That guy's a very, very dangerous weapon. So Washington had to part with a lot of draft picks. And so they didn't have much to do in the draft, to be frank with you. I wasn't overly impressed. But by making those two trades, they pick up a veteran DB and a veteran receiver. They're going to get a lot of production out of those guys. So I'm not sure exactly how Washington is going to fill out this year because they had something like 28 free agents at the end of last season. And I'm not exactly sure where they stand with all of their signings. I'm more concerned about what did the Giants do during this offseason to upgrade their team. They have significantly enhanced their special teams, mostly through free agency, but also through this seventh-round pick, the corner that they took. Why am I suddenly drawing a blank? Because I'm just getting lost in my thoughts here. Corey Black, really good special teams player. So they've greatly enhanced their special teams. We know that they've enhanced their defense, not only by bringing in a guy like Carter and a guy like Alexander, but they signed a Debo. They signed Holland, two guys who are really high-quality starters in the secondary. They bring in a guy like Courtney Golston on the defensive line, just about to reach his prime, plucking him from the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, the Giants are going to have a much better defense this year. And I love the versatility that they're going to have in their front seven now because of the additions of Carter and the addition of Golston, the addition of Alexander here in the draft. These guys give the Giants a lot more configurations that they can use in their front seven, which means Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator, is going to have a larger playbook now. And he can do better mixing and matching against certain teams based on how their personnel groupings go or the quality of what they're bringing to the table. By the way, folks, we're now well over an hour into the program. If you joined us late, Emory Hunt of CBS Sports HQ, who was with us about a month ago to preview the draft, over the first 25 minutes of this program, and you can catch it after we're done and you go to the archive, he gave you a complete pick-by-pick breakdown of not only what he sees in the Giants draft picks, but how he thinks they can be utilized as rookies. And quite frankly, he thinks 6 out of their 7 picks, well, actually 5 out of their 7, because we know Jackson Dart's going to have to sit. And Fedoni, the tight end, he's kind of speculating he could be a redshirt candidate. So 5 out of the 7 picks, he believes, could actually get on the field and see snaps this year. And that certainly would bode well for the Giants and would give them a very strong rookie class. Mysterious One says, do you think we should have drafted a kicker with the last pick to spell Gano? I don't think so, because Graham Gano, he does have a large contract for kickers. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the most expensive kickers in the league. When he's been on the field, he's been worth it. He's a Pro Bowl caliber kicker. Now, you also know the last couple of years, he's had a couple of injuries. As far as I know, he's healthy and going into the offseason well. I don't know if the Giants are going to need to get money because they're going to be tight now in terms of the cap. After all the moves they made and the guys they drafted, they may need to do some finagling with their salary cap. If they do, is Gano a guy they'd want to go to and either ask to redo a deal, ask him to take a pay cut? I don't know the answer to that right now because at the moment, the Giants don't seem to be in financial need to get some more cap space or to get some money. They've got plenty of time to figure that out. I think if they believe that Gano's going to be healthy, I think they want him on this team because he's an excellent kicker. And the Giants have done an awful lot in their personnel moves, as I just said a few minutes ago, in the offseason to enhance their special teams. I was talking to Coach Gabriel just the other day during the draft, and I said, you guys really did a very good job of sniffing out special teams players. Chris Board, who was an unrestricted free agent from the Baltimore Ravens, by many accounts that I talked to, was the best free agent special teams player in this NFL offseason. He's a linebacker by trade, but he is a special teams demon. And the Giants were thrilled to get him. I think this team, if you'll take a second here to just think about this, when you're trying to climb out of the quicksand and get to a level of respectability, the two quickest ways to do it are to dominate on special teams, because if you tilt the field either way, offensively or defensively, you make things much easier for your team. So be great on special teams and then be as good as you possibly can on defense. Offense actually comes last in the three-part equation if you're trying to build a team from the lower level on the way up. And look at what the Giants have done. They greatly enhanced their special teams. I think they want to go in to every weekend believing that they're going to win special teams, not just draw against the opponent. I think the Giants believe that they can win special teams every single weekend this fall. I believe that that's what they're thinking. And that's a great first step. Now you look at how they've enhanced their defense. And if it turns out to be as good as it can be, well, the Giants' defense is also going to be holding an edge over many of their opponents this year. And I know the schedule looks daunting, but there's a possibility that they could truly be a very high-ranking defense, which now means you just have to have a good enough offense to be competitive in most games and give yourselves a chance to win. I see exactly what the Giant blueprint was. I'm following the logic here. I'm connecting the dots. It's a good plan. It may not work. Nobody promises that any plan is going to work. Lord knows injuries are always the one factor that can totally sidetrack a train and throw it off its rails. That's obvious. Everybody knows that. And then there were other factors too. Guys not playing to their potential. Other teams, when you're playing them, they match up well against you. They're clicking on all cylinders, and they're on a roll, and they just outlast you and beat you and survive the weekend and wind up sticking you with a loss. Those things can happen. But what are you supposed to do after you win 3 games the year before? You're supposed to construct a blueprint that logically and reasonably gives you a better chance to compete the following season. I think I see what the Giants' blueprint is by the moves that they've made, because these moves clearly point you in a very specific direction. Win on special teams, try to win as much as you can on defense, and then have the offense be the third part of the equation that picks up the rest of the pieces. I think it's a sound plan. I think the Giants believe they've got the tools to give themselves a chance to execute it. And right now, at the end of April, that's all you can do. All right, here we go. We're going to go down further and say, where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? We got a whole bunch of folks here commented about our guest, Emory Hunt. Everybody loves Emory, and I appreciate that. That's why I have him on. He's a really good guy. Let's see here. Donovan Edwards. Harlem X says, Donovan Edwards, Michigan running back, is going to be a steal for somebody. You know what? Donovan Edwards lost his job this year to Kalel Mullings, who was my sleeper running back going into this draft. I was hoping the Giants could maybe get him in the 5th or 6th round if they did not get a power back earlier. I was hoping for Scatterbo in the 4th. Most people thought he would go in the 3rd. So when the Giants went to bed at the end of the 3rd round and Scatterbo was still there, I was bouncing off the ceiling. I really, really wanted to see the Giants call for his name at the beginning of the 4th round. But you also know that they didn't have the first pick of the 4th round. You had to wait till the 3rd pick. And pick 1 came off the board. Pick 2 came off the board. One of them was actually a running back. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. He's actually there to be had. And then bang, the Giants got Cam Scatterbo. This guy is something else. I've been targeting him since the combine. Didn't think he would be there. During the Big Blue Kickoff show with John, we debated this a number of times, and we finally settled on maybe they can get him at 99. John said he's never going to get to 105. I said, you're right, but I don't think you can take him at the start of the 3rd round up at 65. I don't think you could. I think 65 is too early. He goes, well, you're never getting him at 105. And I said, okay, how about they get him at 99? He settled and said, okay, maybe they can get him at 99. And I said, fine, take him at 99. And then the Giants traded number 99 in the Jackson Dart deal, to get pick 25. And I figured, well, poof, there it goes up in smoke. They are not going to get Cam Scatterbo. And then when the 3rd round ended, and I finally left the Giants training facility and the offices to come home, I kept thinking to myself, he's there. He's there. He's there. 2 picks before the Giants. Oh, man, somebody's going to steal him. I know it. If you guys know me for all the years that I've been covering this team, how many times on Big Blue Kickoff I would salivate after a player, and then, boom, somebody would steal him and pull the rug out from under me. But that's not what happened this year, did it? The Giants were able to get that nasty, incredibly energetic and powerful running back out of Arizona State. But anyway, Harlem X, yeah, my point was, if they didn't get Scatterbo, try to get a big power back late in the draft, and you probably get a steal and a sleeper. And so my top sleeper was the Bulldozer, Kalel Mullings from the University of Michigan. And I believe he was taken in the 6th round by the Tennessee Titans. So I was indeed correct. He wound up going in the 6th, but the Giants didn't have a 6th round pick. They had swapped 6s and 7s last year in the Boogie Basham deal. So they would have had to take him in the 5th. Doesn't matter. They got the premier power back in this draft, Cam Scatterbo. Scatterbo. We got to ask him when he gets here exactly how he wants the inflection on the O at the end of his name. Because I have heard a number of people pronounce it Scataboo or Scatabo. Whatever he wants is fine with me. That's for sure. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Who do we have here? Isaac Moore. Does moving up for Dart remind you of San Francisco moving up for Trey Lance? Well, I suppose in one regard, right? Because, the teams both decided they had to send out draft collateral to go get a young potential quarterback of the future. I never thought Trey Lance was going to amount to much in the National Football League. I thought, and I was very vocal about it, that was a horrible mistake and they would be wasting their time. Well, I'm not going to say what I could say. I'm simply going to say, to this point, Trey Lance has proven me to be correct. That doesn't mean he can't wind up finding a good home somewhere and maybe resuscitating his potential. And, again, hypothetically speaking, there's always a positive and there's always a negative for every hypothetical. I would not myself take a chance on him, but maybe there is some other team out there that will finally be able to get some production out of Trey Lance. You guys know how I felt about Dart. I've been telling you this now for months. After Ward, he was my second favorite quarterback in the draft and my personal number one target for the Giants if they were going to take one. I leaned to, hey, build as much of the rest of the team as you possibly could and don't take the QB unless he falls to you or you wind up getting a really good deal, which is what they wound up getting. I insisted that you cannot force a quarterback, and I still believe that. You don't force a quarterback and you don't overpay. But giving up 2 third-round picks, that seems to be an incredibly good economic move. Or should I say draft collateral move, since there's no money changing hands. It certainly seems like tremendous value. Let's see. Christopher Tony, the EA Joker, says, let's go Big Blue. I love this draft class. We got depth and talent. Tudo says, Isaac, a little different circumstances made San Francisco was desperate for quarterback, but Giants got Russ and they weren't that desperate. You're absolutely right, Tudo. See, that's what made this Dart deal work. Not only did they not give up a tremendous amount in draft collateral, but the other key here for the Giants is that he doesn't have to get rushed into the lineup. He has at least a year. We'll just say a year, but it could at least be a year. Maybe it'll be 2 years for him to develop, mature, learn, and do everything he can to build his game up so that when he does step onto a regular season field as a member of the New York Giants, he'll be ready to go. That's what really helps out this situation, is that he doesn't have to be rushed. And if you take a quarterback at 1 or you take a quarterback at 3, not only is there a tendency to try to rush him on the field, the media and the fans will scream from the top of Mount Everest for you to rush him on the field. The Giants can avoid all of that now. And they can wait for Jackson Dart to be ready before he trots out into the huddle. Ghost Dogs Big Talk. Good evening, P. Dot. Joe Shane absolutely nailed the draft. I haven't looked forward to a season this much in years. I don't bother with people who grade a draft in the ensuing 48 hours after it's over. I'm going to take a guess, though, that for those people who do, they probably got a bunch of A pluses, A's, A minuses. Maybe there's somebody out there who didn't like Carter's injury history, didn't like Jackson Dart's potential, and decided, I don't know, is it possible that somebody out there with their own independent grading system gave them a B plus? Is that possible? I guess it is. Again, I don't give a horse's butt about draft grades, especially ones that come before 3 years in. But on paper, you have to be impressed with the value of the Dart deal and with the need meeting the value of the Giants' picks throughout the draft. We went in telling you guys this on the show and in our previews. We went in telling you if I was in that chair, I would get defensive line help, specifically defensive tackle. They checked the box. They added a pass rusher for the front seven. You can never go wrong with that. Check the box. They needed to address the offensive line and get a young prospect who could compete. They checked the box. I was all for drafting a power running back to complement Tyrone Tracy. They checked the box. I was all for getting another young corner who might be able to help with depth because the Giants' corners are always hurt. Well, guess what? Check the box. Joe Shane telling me after the draft was over, this guy, Corey Black, is not just a special teams player, but he has value as a potential depth piece at cornerback. And they get a potential young franchise quarterback to boot. Again, the only guy in their draft that, was a little bit off the checklist was Fedoni, the tight end. And you just heard what Emory Hunt told you in the first 25 minutes of this program when he analyzed all the Giants draft choices. He loves Fedoni, says he is the second-rated H-back on his board in this draft. He thinks there's a better chance that he winds up redshirting for the season and helps the Giants more down the road. So it's really, really hard not to love what the Giants have done on paper. It's very hard. Maybe there's somebody out there who doesn't. And that's their opinion, and they're certainly entitled to have it. We will see in due time. Eastwick Bando says, what number is Dart? Well, I don't know what number he's going to take when it comes to the regular season. No matter what numbers, and this is why I don't like to discuss this, you can go to the Giants official team website, and they did put up a graphic with the numbers that the newcomers, or at least a bunch of the newcomers, have already settled on. Okay? I honestly don't know what Dart is going to wind up taking. Let me just see if there was something that came over today, but I don't believe anything did. I mean, he was 2 in college, but no, I don't see anything that happened today that indicated he was going to settle on a number. But again, I want you folks to be very careful. I've had people already message me about they want to buy jerseys, right? And I understand that. But here's what happens. Because you take nearly twice as many players as you're going to keep into training camp, these guys get temporary numbers through the spring and then through the summer. And then after the final preseason game, guys will very often wind up requesting a number for the regular season. And so anybody who thinks, that they want to get a jersey of one of their favorite rookies or one of their favorite incoming free agents, they're better off waiting because you could very easily get burned. The numbers that these guys wear in the spring and the summer will not necessarily be their numbers come the week 1 game in September when they actually take the field to start the regular season. So I hesitate to even talk about numbers. Okay? Let's see here. We got a whole bunch of folks chatting amongst themselves in the chat. And again, I appreciate the Giants community for joining us, not only for the program, but also to interact with one another. Let's see. I like this one. Ghost Dog's Big Talk says, P-Dot is a Giants staple. Well, I am going into my 43rd consecutive season of covering this organization. So if that makes me a staple, I guess I'll take that. Thank you. Chip Heim says, hello, Paul and everyone. Would you give some insight about how the Giants may handle 4 quarterbacks on the roster? It would be strange to have a roster spot for a 4th quarterback instead of another team position. Chip, the way I see it, the Giants will keep 3 quarterbacks on the 53. You're most likely to have Winston as the number 2, backing up Russell Wilson. Dart would be the emergency 3rd quarterback on game day, the way I see it. I think the Giants, in all likelihood, will take Tommy DeVito through the spring and through the summer camp, have him continue to work with the team. You never know if injuries are going to impact the situation. And so they like him. He's been here for 2 years. He's proven he can win NFL games. Quite frankly, I think he is a legitimate number 3 in the National Football League. I'm not sure if he's quite at number 2. He had a chance last year to kind of elevate his value and his stature. I'm not sure he actually got there. I think it's still to be determined. I think there's still a possibility if he continues to work hard and improves. Maybe he could be a number 2 for a team at some point. I just don't think right now, based on the NFL games that we've seen, I don't think he's quite there as a number 2. But he's absolutely a very good number 3. And more teams in this league are now keeping 3 quarterbacks. So, in my opinion, if the 3 guys in front of him on the depth chart stay healthy, well, then Tommy DeVito is going to have a decision to make. If in the last cut, the Giants don't have room because they're not going to keep 4 quarterbacks on the 53. There's no way that's going to happen. He would likely get waived and then be welcomed back to the practice squad. I suspect that's what the Giants would do. I can't say that for sure, but I suspect that they would. But remember something. If he does get waived, every other team in the league has an opportunity to claim him. And I think he would get claimed. We talked about this going into this past season, that if Tommy DeVito were to get removed from the team after the final cut, or at the final cut, I should say, the odds of the Giants sneaking him onto the practice squad were very slight. Tommy DeVito has done enough to prove that he belongs on a 53-man roster in the National Football League. The problem is he now has 2 experienced veterans ahead of him and a number 1 draft pick ahead of him. That seems to squeeze him out here. And again, you never know what could happen. There's always a chance that an injury strikes and all of a sudden the Giants have room for a 4th quarterback to sneak up into one of those 3 spots that I believe they'll keep for opening day. Christopher Tony, the EA Joker, says, what? The Browns have 5 quarterbacks on the roster. The Browns are a mess right now. Okay? That's just the way it is. Watson, Pickett, Flacco, Gabriel, Sanders. Yeah, they have 5 quarterbacks on their roster right now. Look, Christopher, no team in this league is going to keep more than 3 quarterbacks on their 53. It's not going to happen. End of story, period. So they've got to do something with those guys. Somebody is not going to make it. There's always an opportunity if somebody gets hurt, you put them on IR for the season. Now, if nobody gets hurt, then you just got to waive them and cut them. I mean, they got to be released because you're not going to be able to keep them all. There's always the chance then you can sneak them back onto the practice squad if that's the case. But if they get hurt, you could throw them on IR for the season. Isaac Moore says, thanks to Emory Hunt for his input. Absolutely. Folks, again, if you're joining us late, Emory Hunt of CBS Sports HQ, football analyst, gave us a complete breakdown of the Giants draft class in the first 25 minutes of this program. Isaac Moore says, Browns are throwing darts. Not. Isaac Moore says, uh-oh, Harlem bringing the heat. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. Tudo says, Ghost, I've been listening to Big Paulie and WFAN radio since I was 6 years old growing up in Princeton. Oh, my. Well, since I don't know how old you are, Tudo, and that's fair, you don't have to tell me. I'm not asking you. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be impolite. I'm not going to ask you how old you are. But I have a hunch that that's been a pretty long time. And I appreciate you for sticking with me and listening all these years. I hope I brought you some enjoyment as you watch the game. Ghost Dogs Big Talk. Facts, Tudo. If you were a Jersey kid, you grew up listening to legends like P. Dot and Bob Papa. Well, that's awfully nice of you as well. And I'm sure Bob would also appreciate the same comment. Tudo says, yep, Ghost, I'm very close to Papa and always chatting with him. Yeah, Bobby and I are both WFUV grads. We came out of Fordham University, class of 1986. I started covering the team when I was in college, back in 83. Bob started covering the team some years after me. But he's been around, I want to say, it might even be like 35 years on Giants football in one form or another. I'm going into number 43, though, in 2025. How about that, huh? Mysterious One says, Harlem X, frame that letter. Motivation locked. Isaac Moore says, Papa and Banks are legit. Absolutely they are. I love working with those guys. Chip Heim, here, this is why I let Harlem X talk so long. Chip Heim says, thanks for the great call in by Harlem X. Great stories. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Mysterious One says, P. Dot, was there a certain draft pick that you wish we picked up? Well, I mentioned it before. If they did not get Scatterbo, my number one sleeper in this draft was Khalil Mullings, the running back from Michigan, who went in the 6th round to the Titans. The other sleeper that I had, if they did not get a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, I figured that Dart was going to go probably late in the first. I figured that Shuck could go probably mid-second or late second round. The other quarterback that I had my eyes on for the Giants, who I thought could have been a fit if they really wanted one, was Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. I was thinking of McCord as a potential 4th-round draft choice. He wound up going, I believe, in the 6th round to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm just going to check on that right now. I believe it was the 6th. It was pick number 181, and it was the 6th round. Yeah, my 2 sleeper picks were Kyle McCord and Khalil Mullings, guys who I had my eye on, and I did not think they would go in day 1 or 2, obviously. I don't think anybody did think that. But I think that these guys have something to offer, and I think they can be pretty good. So I suppose that's the answer. Isaac Moore says, Eli had a better arm than Peyton. Yeah, he did. And certainly by the end of his career, Peyton Manning was really struggling there in his final years with Denver. Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowls with Eli Manning. That is correct. 7 degrees of Manning, obviously having a little bit of fun here in speaking about Jackson Dart. Isaac Moore says, I really feel this season will be fun, if nothing else. Well, they certainly should be a great deal more competitive. And at least, I will say this, there are two really good things about the Giants getting Jackson Dart. Number one, he has a lot to offer, and he could very well be the future franchise quarterback for this team. That is absolutely possible. He has enough tools to make that happen, and they got him at the expense of only 2 third-round picks. So that's the first thing that's really great about it. What's the second thing that's really great about it? You don't have to hear anybody talk about how they've got to get a young franchise quarterback anymore. It's over. Done. Zip it. How great is it not to have to hear that? Oh, thank you, Lord. Tudo says, Paulie, Charlie is back in the room and he's trying to come on. Is he? Oh, my goodness. I did not see somebody else trying to come back in. If somebody else wants to make an audio or video call, please do. I can set up. If you're not able to get the link off the screen, I'll set it up for you again. Here is the link to participate. Please, by all means, I absolutely welcome video and audio calls. I'm big on that, folks. You know that. I ask you for them all the time. Hey, we're coming up on almost 2 hours in this program, and we have over 1,100 live viewers as we speak. That's terrific. I'm certainly going to go up to the top of the hour, and if you guys keep going with me, I'll keep going with you. Christopher Webb says, thank you for all you do, and I thank you. Thank you, Christopher Webb, for being much appreciated, for being a starred super chat man. Thank you very, very much. That's awfully kind of you. Look, guys, I don't pull any punches. I think you can tell. I love my job. I truly do. It motivates me to get up every day. It's a thrill and a joy to be able to be involved with the National Football League and to be involved with this unbelievably historic and respected franchise and to do what I do and to talk Giants football with fans 25 hours a day for 8 days a week if I could. Honestly. Hey, we got another video caller, and by the way, he's one of our regulars. Aiden, what do you say?
Hey.
Glad to have you back on the program.
How's it going? Yeah, I know I gave you a call on Friday, but had some more I wanted to discuss a little bit.
Okay, what do you got for us?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for all the content during the draft and leading up.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate
This is
it
now, I guess, let's see. I started doing shows specifically regarding the draft back on Tuesday the 22nd when I did BBKL in the daytime.
Oh, wow.
Then I did a whole nighttime shows for the Giants, including some shows on WFAN. So now this is exactly 7 days in a row that I've done shows that were basically all concentrated on the draft. Do you think I've had enough, Aiden?
No. How much sleep have you gotten?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. I probably average about maybe 4 hours a night.
So in those 4 hours, are you just dreaming about the draft?
No, I'd like to believe that during those 4 hours, I'm actually zonked out. And thank goodness that I am, because I need to have some kind of recharging to get through the next day.
That's good.
Hey, here's the other thing that's killing me, though. I'm a huge New York Knickerbockers fan.
They're doing pretty good.
Well, I grew up with the Red Holtzman Knicks, who won 2 NBA championships, right? And had all those Hall of Famers. So I'm thirsty for the Knicks' first title since 1973. I'm very thirsty for that. So I'm all invested emotionally in the Knicks, and having to deal with that while the draft is going on is really hard.
Yeah, especially because like the game was on during the draft.
Tell me about it.
Few days.
Aiden, I'm going to give you a couple of chances here to give me 2 points. I got C-Web on the video hold, waiting to get in after you. So why don't you give me 2 points?
Yeah,
and then
sure,
I'm going to hit C-Web up, okay?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we could always talk again. But yeah, first thing is about, how I was like talking about the running backs the other day and how about with the room. I mean, I'm really happy I like Sky, but by the way, on the reaction show, I loved your reaction when they picked him. That was great.
I think if that required any explanation, I gave it to you earlier tonight. It was very difficult for me to go to sleep after round 3, thinking that somebody might pull the rug out from under me and take him before the Giants.
Yeah, you seem to be really shocked. I think he's quite a steal too, especially that you were saying like you thought he was going to end up going in the 3rd round.
Yep.
Yeah, so my question about that is like, I mean, running backs are so replaceable these days, and I feel like you don't know how it's going to, I want to know about what you think about his potential and Tracy's as well, because like, I mean, you see it all the time, like a rookie comes in, they end up getting more snaps and they outdo, like either they end up getting hurt or it's just performance overall that like he could end up being like the first back. And I feel like you said with Tracy the other day, you think he only could, the kind of guy who could get like 20 carries a game. I was wondering how much you think that Skybook could get and like what.
Well, I think it's going to depend. I think it's going to depend on matchups, depending upon the kind of defense that they're playing in a given week. If it's a faster defense or a more physical pounding defense, I think that's going to make a difference. I think the flow of the game is going to make a difference as well, because Tracy is more of a home run hitter and can make more big plays than Scatterboo. But for example, Scatterboo is a perfect back for your 4-minute offense. If you've got the lead into the 4th quarter, or even, again, late in the 4th quarter when you go to your 4-minute offense, but it could be earlier in the 4th quarter too, he's the kind of guy who's going to help you hold on to that lead by grinding out first downs, by pounding the defense into submission, and by keeping your defense off the field while you control the clock, so that when they do have to get up off of the bench, they'll be fresh enough to stop the opposition if they get the ball back. So I think there's a lot of circumstances that will determine how many touches and how many carries each and every week Tracy gets and how many go to Scatterbo. And remember, there's also Devin Singletary, who's also going to be kind of in this mix too. But you remember when it was Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? You remember those guys. Jacobs, Bradshaw, and Ward. You remember those guys.
I was very young, but I mean, I know about it.
Okay, you were very young. No excuse. Go back and look at the videos.
I remember Brandon Jacobs, sure, and
so it's going to be fine. I don't know that any one of those guys is going to be a great fantasy pick, for these fantasy football people.
Yeah.
Other than Scatterbo could wind up being the touchdown monster, because if they get down inside the 5-yard line, he's the guy you're probably going to want to get the ball to. I could easily see him as a rookie scoring 6 or 7 touchdowns just from in close.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like he looks like a pretty strong athlete.
Oh, he's strong. He's strong and powerful.
Good receiving back too.
He does, and he's got good hands, and he can absolutely be a receiving threat. No question about it, Aiden. That's why he was the #1 power back on my roster, because he's got enough tools to hurt teams in a variety of ways.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, I was going to ask you, are you surprised that we didn't end up drafting at least one wide receiver? Because I mean,
did not surprise me at all.
I mean, even because like even the guys we signed, like the receivers, like Will Jordan Humphrey. I mean, like we don't really have much, but I feel like that's a position you could always add depth in. And I mean, they're doing that at the corner position. But do you think that's a position we could go after for undrafted free agents?
Apparently, again, the reported list of guys that they are looking at, or they're at least getting some verbal agreements with, there's 4 or 5, I believe, receivers that
Mm-hmm.
many people are reporting they're going to wind up bringing to rookie minicamp. And you can do that. Wide receiver and defensive back, but in that order, are the 2 most common positions where you can find quality at the undrafted free agent slot. And why is that? Because every team in college, whether it's Division 1, Division 2, or even Division 3, has a slew of receivers and defensive backs on their teams. And no matter how many scouts these 32 NFL franchises have, there's going to be some talented players who have traits who will fall through the cracks. It happens all the time. Remember, Victor Cruz was an undrafted rookie free agent too.
Yeah, Victor Cruz was. I
So,
mean, there's
so
some other guys
really what
like
it comes
Adam
down to,
Thielen.
Aiden, and I stressed this earlier, I'll say it one more time. I thought the Giants needed defensive tackle help. They needed offensive line. They needed a power back, and they needed to draft depth at corner. And if they were going to get a QB in there, fine. Those were the positions for me that I would have drafted. I never would have drafted a wide receiver in this draft. That was not on my list.
Even
I figured
over
if they
like
could get a speed guy as an undrafted guy, maybe add another speed guy to the room for competition, I was in for that. But I was not going to draft one if I'm the GM. And they didn't.
yeah, so
All
I
right.
mean, you would have kept what they did in the 7th round with the 2 picks over a receiver.
Well, again, for Donnie, the tight end, I'm hearing now, you heard what Emory Hunt said earlier
Yeah.
tonight. He was the second-rated H-back on his board, so that apparently is a great value. I did not do video work on Fedoni because I did not think the Giants were going to draft any receivers, and I didn't think they were going to draft tight ends. So I limited the number of receivers and tight ends that I watched going into the draft. I did about, I think, 10 or 12 receivers and maybe 10 or 12 tight ends, and that was it. Because I didn't think they would draft either position. I really didn't. And I certainly would not have. So that one surprised me a little bit. But drafting a corner who Joe Shane says has the ability to compete on the depth chart at corner, that's terrific. I absolutely believe that was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden, I'm going to let you go. I got C-Web on hold
All right,
here, okay?
we'll talk soon.
All right, take care
All right.
now. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, let's get C-Web in here now. How you doing, my man?
Peter, how are we doing?
Hey, good to talk to you again.
You as well. Enthused as you are with this draft, and really excited to see that our general manager, just like anyone else, can improve in his job. I think a lot of people counted them out, and it's still very early to say this, but from the looks of it, it looks like a great draft and an active free agency class.
Yeah, it really shaped up going into the draft, and we've talked about this on this program as well as BBK. It shaped up as a draft that would have a lot of depth and value at the 4 positions that I thought the Giants needed to get. And look, as it turns out, they got an offensive lineman in the 5th round in Bo from Purdue, who Emory just told you earlier tonight, he thinks he actually could possibly compete for a starting guard spot. And they got him in the 5th round.
Or at least be the six-man swing guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they get a corner in the 7th, who Joe Shane had just told us 2 weeks ago in his pre-draft press conference that while there may not be a lot of premier corners in this draft, he said to us it was one of the 4 positions where he believed there was the most depth, where you could get a guy late who might be able to help you. And he went and he did that in the 7th. So, I mean, it's really hard to find a box that he didn't check.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the most exciting thing you're excited about when it comes to the season and how this team how things play out for this team?
Well, I think the most exciting thing for me is the upside for the defense. Now, some people may say, and I wouldn't blame them if they do, they want to see Russell Wilson throw in those moonball bombs to Malik Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Every time he hits Neighbors with one of those passes, it's going to be a big play and it's going to rock the building. And we haven't seen enough of those in years.
Yeah.
So I get it.
I don't fault those fans. I understand.
And so do I. I totally understand that. But you also know, C Webb, if you know anything about me, I'm always going to prioritize bone-crushing, dominant defensive play. That's where I come from. I can't help it. I'm always going to be partial to the defense. So if I can see this front seven really start to impose its will and intimidate other teams, that to me, if you can get to that level of defense, now you can really start to make some hay.
And it starts with being good at stopping the run, getting good at stopping the run.
Yes.
That's been our
it's my belief that Chauncey Golston and, of course, Alexander, who they just drafted, and Dexter Lawrence, Ledbetter, the guy they signed, the backup nose tackle they signed from the Jaguars. Also, I know I leave him off a lot because he wasn't a higher profile free agent, and I tend to leave his name out of it. But these guys are all significant additions to the defensive line. And it's not just about having more talent on the line to make plays. It's also about having more talent on the line to make sure that they tie up the offense's blockers so that Bobby Okereke has more room to make his plays. Look, you know this. I know you know this because you're one of our really good callers. Bobby Okereke's production went down last year in part because of an adjustment to the scheme, but also because the defensive line outside of Dexter Lawrence did not do enough to keep blockers off of him.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get Bobby Okereke back to being a 150 tackle a year guy, where the year before that he was like, in my opinion, Pro Bowl level. The only way to do that is to give him the freedom and the room to go make plays.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that last year.
How do you see Tyler Nubin taking a step next year, along with some of the free agent signings with this defensive backfield?
I would be very surprised if Tyler Nubin in his second year, with his football acumen, he is such a smart player. I mean, think about what you saw last year with him. How many times did you just throw your hands up and say, he made a rookie mistake. He was just so far out of position, he didn't make the play.
Mm-hmm.
Not very often, right?
Mm-mm.
Not very often. He was really good right out of the box. And that's a rarity. So I am extremely optimistic that he is going to play some darn good football this fall. I really have a very, very high standard for him to meet this season. Mm-hmm. And now that he's with Javon Holland, who did a real nice job with Miami the last couple of years. He's a playmaker kind of guy, okay? He hits. He gets people involved. He's one of those guys who, for whatever reason, he tends to be around big plays. He may not get a ton of interceptions, but he'll be there to knock the ball away. He'll be there to maybe force a fumble. He'll be in on a gang tackle that prevents a guy from getting a first down or getting into the end zone. He's a really good player. And to pair him with Nubin, I was talking to Nubin about him recently, and both of these guys have very similar traits. So it's going to be very easy for Nubin to glean off of Holland, which is only going to make him better.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel very high about those two guys. And, of course, Dane Belton is back as the third safety again. And then you look at Adebo, and I've got a connection in New Orleans with the Saints. and they were very disappointed to lose him, but the Giants paid big money to bring him up here. Now, we've seen the video. We know that he's passed the medicals as far as the Giants were concerned. That's why they signed him. And he is a legitimate top flight corner in this league. So what do I like about that? Well, not only is he going to play opposite Tay Banks, but if he's on the number one guy, that means Tay Banks not only doesn't have to necessarily guard the number one guy, maybe he's on the number two now, which might make his job a little bit easier. But in addition to that, he can also learn from Adebo. So I think that's a win-win. Look, Tay Banks has to hit the switch. This is year 3. He needs to play to his potential. He needs to play like the terrific first-round pick that he was when he came out of Maryland. He had a really nice rookie season, made some rookie mistakes, but showed an awful lot of good stuff. Last year, he did not adjust well to Shane Bowen's new scheme. He just didn't.
Well, do you think it's just
obvious.
The defense and playing zone versus man coverage?
It was a problem for him.
Yeah.
So I here's the thing, right?
He's a press physical cover type
He
of
is.
guy.
But it's incumbent upon both the coordinator and the player to make adjustments. And I don't think either guy made enough of adjustments to smooth out the rough edges last season. I think Shane Bowen now has a better idea of what Tay Banks is, and he should be able to better utilize him. And I think that Banks understands more about what Bowen was trying to do, and perhaps he can also adapt his game a little bit. And if both guys kind of try to meet a little bit more in the middle, maybe that'll smooth out, and Banks can finally show his potential in his 3rd NFL season. Because I know how talented and good he is. The skill set in the toolbox is terrific. So, yes, I'm very excited about this defense's potential, because I also like the fact that Carter is going to be able to get on the field with Thibodeau and with Burns, and you'll be able to play all 3 of them, because there's going to be times, okay, especially in passing situations, where you'll be able to play Okereke and Carter as the 2 backers while you send Thibodeau or Burns. And then there'll be other times that you're just going to send Carter. You may be able to line Carter up on one of the shoulders of either Thibodeau or Burns and say, guess what? Hey, offensive coordinator, we got one guy on one side. We got the other 2 guys on the other side. What you going to do to protect your quarterback this time? It's going to be sweet. He could also blitz up the middle. And there were other times where you could, remember, because he was an off-ball linebacker the first 2 years at Penn State. So you can also use Carter as a spy if you want to. Send your pass rushers, and if the quarterback leaks out up the middle or finds a seam to leak out, he's going to have to deal with Abdul Carter chasing him down. So there are multiple ways that they could use Carter and still get him on the field with Thibodeau and Burns. I never understood the people, the writers or the fans, who were saying, got to trade Thibodeau because if you're going to get Carter, there's not going to be enough snaps for all 3 guys. That was hogwash from the very beginning. You heard me talking about this for over a month. That made no sense. You can use all 3 of them.
Can never have enough pass rushers. Never can have enough.
Not to mention, how about this? Not to mention the defensive line now, with the additions of Ledbetter, Alexander, and of course, Golston. And we don't know who's going to make the team from the back end. Does Nacho still make the team? Does Jordan Riley still make the team? Does Chapman still make the team? They've got other guys who they're going to have to kind of sort through on the depth chart. But here's what I'm telling you, C-Web. The Giants now have more personnel on that defensive line to where they could play 1 down, 2 down, 3 down. They could even, in obvious matchup situations against a power running team, if they wanted to, they could even go 4 down linemen on occasion. They couldn't do that last year because they did not have enough quality down linemen where they could try to mix up and show more versatility along the front. Now they do. Boy, this defense could really be something. If everybody
Very
plays
special.
up to their potential, it could be really good. Really good.
Well, how do you see wide receiver playing out outside of Malik Neighbors? Obviously, Darius Slayton re-signed. You got Wando Robinson that's young but hasn't really proved it because he's struggled with injuries. Where do you see this? I mean, where do you see this receiving core shaping out?
Well, here's what I will say. I look at it, everybody knows Robinson, Slayton, Neighbors, and I'm going to say for the moment, Hyatt are your top 4. You're not going to keep more than 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So who are 5 and who are 6? All right, so let me call up the depth chart. And as I see it now, I think it's very difficult to believe that Ford Wheaton gets left off this team. I like him.
I like
and
him a lot.
I hope he can give them some receiving snaps this year. I know he's turned into a really nice special teams cover guy, and he's going to make the team there anyway, I believe. But I'd love to see him get some more opportunities in the receiving game. So that would be fun.
As a fourth man.
Hey, if he beats out Hyatt to be the 4th guy, fine. May the better man win. You know, I quite frankly would like to see Hyatt be the 4th guy. And if Ford Wheaton's number 5, that's fine too. There's going to be injuries, C-Web. You know that. Guys are not going to play every snap, every game. It doesn't happen.
Right.
So who else? Well, I think Smith Marsette's going to be the kick returner. But I'm willing to make him just the kick returner. Just like when they had Oshevsky a couple of years ago. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you don't have to worry about a spot there. The question becomes, who's the number 6 receiver? If you're going to keep 6. If you're going to keep 6, who would that guy be? Is it going to be Pascal, the guy they signed from the Cardinals? Is it going to be Humphrey, the guy they signed from the Broncos? Is it going to be one of these potential free agents that they're supposedly bringing in this week or next week, I should say? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I see the receiving core lining up. And again, maybe they'll only keep 5. I don't know that either. They could keep 6, but you're certainly not going to keep more than 6.
Mm-hmm.
Hyatt's the big wild card here. If Hyatt can finally jump out of that box and fulfill at least a good deal of his potential, it really makes this receiving core a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Significantly better. If he doesn't, it opens up another spot for one of these other guys, and I don't know, what they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah, they're not really the long-term answer.
That's why you want Hyatt to be.
Yeah,
he was a draft choice. You went to go get him in the 3rd round. You know he's got terrific speed. You know he's a deep threat. Russell Wilson mentioned him right away when he got here. He's like, I'm looking forward to throwing to him because I know he can get deep. Maybe Russell Wilson helps bring out the best in the kid.
Can he beat press coverage? Yeah.
C-Web, he's a really good kid. I've gotten to know Jalen Hyatt. He's a very smart individual. He's very, very professional, has a wonderful work ethic. He's a good teammate. He's always working after and before practice on his craft. He sponges off of Darius Slayton whenever he gets a chance. It's hard not to root for him. But to this point, the production hasn't been there, and the coaches haven't felt compelled to necessarily force feed him into the lineup either. And it's one of the mysteries of my 43 years covering the team. I still don't understand it. I don't.
Do you think it has to do with something not knowing the playbook?
I don't get the sense that that's it, because I've seen how hard he works and how much time he puts in. It's very hard for me to believe that he can't get it. But that's certainly a possibility. I can't say it's not. So, by the way, I want to just thank Armand. Thank you, Armand, who has generously become a super chat guy. I just want to throw this out there, C-Web. He says, thank you for all the time and work you put in. We're lucky to have you. Can't wait to see Scatterbo join Tracy. If you think they resemble Morris and Anderson, Dane and Tiki, or Jacobs and Bradshaw the most, I just want to get that in there because the star guys do deserve to get in before, they wind up falling asleep or tuning out of the program, C-Web. You never know. Sometimes I get a little delayed with these guys.
Totally understand.
I think they'll resemble more Jacobs and Bradshaw. Scottibo and Tracy. I think you'll see more of that kind of dynamic.
Got it.
Anyway.
Cool. Appreciate everything, Paul.
Thank you, my friend. Stay with us, all right? We'll see you again. Next week, we're going to be back, by the way. I should tell people, we will be back to our regularly scheduled Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
You're the man. Take care. Thank you. Woo. All right. Let's see. Where do we have to go back to our chats? I have tried to take these phone calls and certainly enjoyed these phone calls, but what does that do? That does get us. There we go. Oh, I'm a little bit off center. Let me see if I get myself back on center. No, that didn't work. This one. No, this one. There we go. I'm back on center again. Some people think I'm a little bit unbalanced and off center anyway, but that's okay because it's me. I live with me. I like me. It's okay if you don't. I've got no problem with that either. All right, let me see if I can get back over here to some of these chats. We are now going on nearly 2.5 hours on the program. And again, folks, we are well over 1,200 live views right now and still steady and strong. And I do appreciate all of you. All right, here we go. Sean Jackson says, good points, Harlem X. However, it seemed like Jaden Daniels would have been Dable's quarterback pick if Washington didn't take him. I do not know that to be true, so I will not second that emotion to steal a title from a song that was popular on the charts many years ago. He says Cam probably would have been the Giants pick if they had the first pick. Oh, I think that certainly was a realistic possibility. But the Titans were not parting with pick number 1 at any cost. They were married to that pick just like last year when the Patriots were married to the number 3 pick, and they were taking Drake May no matter what. And they were not dealing the pick. So you just wipe that guy off the board and say, that's it. It's not going to happen. That's why I told people, write off Cam Ward. If the Giants are going to take a quarterback, who do you want? And I said, it's got to be Jackson Dart, 1, Tyler Shuck, 2, Kyle McCord, 3. And if it's not one of those 3 quarterbacks, I would not take a quarterback, period. Well, they got the number 1 guy on my list. How am I going to complain about that? Isaac Morris says, Tommy Cutlass cost us JD5. Oh, I get it. I get it. Because he won 3 games in a row 2 years ago. You moved down in the draft. Isaac, don't do that. That's just ridiculous. Don't go there. Mysterious One says, Harlem X, best team we've had in years. Keep watching. We are loyalists. Okay. Sean Jackson, he's got to go. He's got to go here again. He's got to go with the stinking hypotheticals. Drew Lock cost us Cam Ward. Harlem X, don't boycott the Giants season, brother. Giants defense is back for real. Well, the second part of your statement, I'm all in on. But come on. These hypotheticals, man. How do you look a guy in the eye who has played through a 2-win season, busted his butt, his legs, his shoulders, his arms? How do you look at any of the guys in that Giants locker room and say, oh, we'd have been better off if we lost another game? Did you listen or watch any of the Giants post-game shows with the locker room reaction from those players last year? Dexter Lawrence, Darius Slayton, Brian Burns. These guys practically had flames coming out of their eyes, noses, and ears over the disgust of how this team was not winning games. Would you want to be like I had to go up to those guys in the locker room after those losses every week and look those guys in the eye? Never mind even asking them a question, just to be in their presence when you could feel the heat from the flames coming out of their ears. They were so angry at losing. This is why I do not tolerate any fans who talk about tanking, losing games on purpose, or saying that they wish the team had lost to get a better draft pick. Every fan who says that should have to stand in front of one of those passionate players who has gone through a living hell that is the National Football League season, and stand in front of those guys after a game and feel their fury as they hurt and as they burn with each and every loss. You should have to do that before you say such ridiculous things about tanking and wishing the team lost and you want a better draft pick. You should have to do that first. Then maybe you would understand. But the problem is you can't make a logical decision if you don't understand. But if you could, just maybe you would smarten up a bit. Isaac Moore says, no offense to Ward. I'd rather have JD5. Isaac, I don't know what else to say to you. I'm being nice and I'm putting your chats up, but I don't know what to say to you. Get off of the whole thing with Daniels. Get off of the whole thing with Ward. It's pointless. It's a waste of time. Just leave it alone. Here, now you got something positive to say. Scat and the scrum bringing the boom. Okay. I can applaud that. Harlem X says, hi, everybody. Apologies for taking up so much time. Emory is hard to follow. Paul's definitely the man, always changing my damn mind. And Isaac says, Scataboo is no scat back. Yeah, I get it. That's a pun. Okay, there you go. Thumbs up. Thumbs up, Isaac. Good job trying to bounce back. MB Goblin. P-Dot, heck of a draft. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings on Dart, but if Joe and Dave's believe he could be our future 10-year guy, then they got him for a steal. You are correct. If that's the case, it's a great price. Love the day 3 picks up as well. I can't argue with the moment with any of them. Harlem X says, Sean Jackson, I don't want to boycott the season, but I don't know how much more I can take. Season doesn't start for a while, so hopefully Paul can talk me off the ledge. Harlem X, I lived through the days of the Yale Bowl, and they were as dark a days as anybody could find anywhere. And I know there have been a couple of those seasons in recent years here for the Giants as they have repeated some of that quicksand type football. If I could get through that, I think you could get through another season. That will be better, by the way. It will be better. Suresh says, let's go G-Men. Very nice. Olamek says he still feels we had a great draft, though. Still uneasy about Dart, but he has a 3-year window to show me something. He says to Mysterious, I'm definitely lamenting that letter. I still can't believe how long it's been in my storage bin. Yeah, but the point is you kept it, which meant you could use it as that positive motivation that you were talking about. And that's a win for you. So indirectly, you can thank Dave Gettleman for providing that spark that keeps you going when maybe things look a little bit cloudy for you. I think everybody should have something that motivates them from within. You shouldn't always have to rely on a coach or somebody else to get your wheels turning. You got to have a button from within that you can use. that can make you get up the next day and try to achieve for something positive. That's how I've always lived my life. MB Goblin, also P. Dot, you're not going to let John and Lance get away with their jab at your seasoning of food, right? Well, I don't know. Did they make a crack about oregano? Or grated cheese, for that matter? You'll have to let me know. I'm trying to get down to you. Look at this. I'm only hitting this at 9:17, and we're at 10:30. I was so far behind on the chats. All MX is calling in tonight. Stupid schedule starts again tomorrow. Hope everybody stays healthy and happy for sure. Christopher Tony, we need the offense to get in gear. Defense is set to kick butt. Let's get it in gear this year, guys. Sure. Absolutely. All right, let's keep going down here. Christopher Tony again. Let's go Big Blue Wrecking Crew. We back, baby. Sean Jackson says, I agree about JD5, but Abdul Carter is a good consolation Giants prize. I don't know that you could even call him a consolation. Hunter and Carter are not consolation prizes for anybody, I don't think. Giants have the defense now to potentially get after JD5, Hurts, Dak. Don't think the NFL offenses are happy to face our defense, which is a great point, by the way. MB Goblin says, I would argue we made a huge upgrade at quarterback, unlike what Charlie was screaming about earlier today. Oh, Charlie from Maine. He's one of the regulars on the BBK show during the day, folks, that I'm a part of the rotating host roster. Charlie has a negative thing to say about everything. He's one of those guys who loves to play hypothetical, but only sees the negative in the hypothetical. Never acknowledges that a hypothetical could also turn out to have a positive result. That's a rough way to go through life. I don't know how he does it. Anyway, MB Goblin says, we don't need Russell Wilson to get us to Super Bowl, just make us better. And he does. And I totally agree with that. Isaac Moore says, have to have a better tackling that's number one for the defense. The Focus says the Giants were not as bad as their record. They have been lacking depth. People say we aren't going to do well because of the teams in our division, but I do believe our division has to worry about us now. Isaac says the NFC East is always up for grabs, just got to take it. Eric R. says drafting Scatterboo was the icing on the cake. The draft could have ended after that, and it would have been a success, but it got even better. G537 says, I'm excited for Carter, but Cameron Scatterboo is a truck. Mysterious One, any thoughts on whether Dable or Kafka should handle the play calling of the offense this season? That is a mystery right now. Brian Dable has said he will consider giving up the play calling. I would assume Kafka would then get the plays if such a move is made. I don't know that it will be made. I think that it will become obvious during training camp based on who's got the walkie-talkie on the sidelines, who is calling the plays. But even then, Dable may not have made a decision. So, look, I have philosophically always said that I would prefer, if I were a general manager, to have my head coach not call the plays. That's strictly a philosophical and personal preference. There are many head coaches, about a third in this league right now, that do call their own plays. And some of them have won Super Bowls or at least gone to the playoffs. So it can be done. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it all depends on the circumstances. And if you particularly have a preference as the head coach or the GM as to what you want your organization to do. I do not have a front office title, nor do I have a coach's title on the New York Football Giants. Therefore, my preference that any head coach does not call the plays is irrelevant. M. Goblin, my opinion, you can't grade a draft until the end of the class's rookie deals. Well, standard practice in the league is that you go 3 years. Because by the end of a third season, any of your rookie players should have had an opportunity to break out and show you what they are. Tremaine Young says, the best draft I've seen in some years. Absolutely. Can't wait to see Scatterboo run. MB Goblin says if he runs the way he did at ASU, then this is going to be a mean running back room. Folks, I am now in my 7th straight day of doing shows. I am starting to get hoarse. Oh, boy. Tremaine Young. To see Abdul and wear number 11 would be amazing, but it is retired. And in my opinion, it should stay retired. I don't think Phil Simms should give up his 11. See Webb, we just had him on the video call. Isaac Moore says Carter should take 50 like Super Bowl champ Blake Martinez. Well, Blake Martinez did not win a Super Bowl with the Giants. And to be honest, did he win a Super Bowl with the Packers? Let me take a look at that. I don't remember if he did. I don't think he did, but let me take a look. No, he did not. Blake Martinez did not win a Super Bowl with the Packers. Okay. C. Webb, as I thanked him earlier, he was a starred super chat guy as well. And again, C. Webb, thank you for all you do to participate in this program. I mean that. Everybody who either watches, listens, chats, whatever you do, thank you for being part of the Big Blue Breakdown, because it's a labor of love for me, and I hope that you guys at least get some enjoyment out of it. C. Webb says, have we seen Tommy Cutlett's ceiling? Possibly. But there's nothing wrong with being a number 3 quarterback in the NFL, except that he might wind up being on a team that does not have a room for a 4th. So I think Tommy DeVito is going to be, if he's not on the Giants practice squad, he's going to be in the NFL this year. I'm sure he will. He is a professional quarterback. M. Goblin says, if we had the same draft as the Browns, that I think fans would be epileptic shock. Oh, if we had the same draft as the Browns did, I think fans would be in an epileptic shock. Okay. Good evening, Paul. Months we would talk about the Giants upgrading their defense, and it looks like they've done it. Yes, indeed. You weren't a fan of this quarterback class, so how'd you feel when they traded for Dart? I go back to what I have said time and time again. My feeling was I would lean toward not taking a quarterback unless one of the 3 guys fell to you in your spot. Dart, Shuck, McCord. I thought Dart was going to be a late first-round pick, and I didn't think that the Giants would get a reasonable price to have to trade up to get him. I thought they would have to overpay. As it turned out, they didn't have to overpay. So given the price that they paid, they got the number 1 quarterback on my board after Cam Ward. I'm okay with it. I told you earlier, I think Shuck would have been a late 2nd round pick. The Giants were not going to be in that neighborhood when it came time to draft, right? They were high in the 2nd and they were high in the 3rd. If he went mid to late 2nd round, they weren't going to get him. He wasn't going to fall to them. So that wasn't going to matter. Kyle McCord was my sleeper. If he was there in the 4th and they really wanted to get a quarterback and they had not gotten one yet, I said they should take Kyle McCord in the 4th. I explained this scenario out multiple times for the last month and a half at least on this show and on BBK. I was very clear about it. I did not think there was anything wrong with not drafting a quarterback. To me, that was a viable solution. Don't take one if you're going to have to overpay in a trade or you're going to have to force it. Do not As it turned out, they didn't have to overpay in a trade, and consequently, they didn't have to force it. And they took the number one quarterback who was still remaining in Jackson Dart at 25. So, Sean, I see the logic. It did fit in within the parameters that I had discussed. What's the problem? Tremaine Young says the defense looks stacked. Isaac Moore says, I really like McCord too. Aiden Fink says, Paul, thank you for all the coverage leading up, during, and following the draft. Truly appreciate it all. Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Armin Duda says, I'm excited to see Scatterboo play for us. Armin also says 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I'm sure he's referring to the great Eli Manning. It is wonderful. Yes, it is. And let's see now. Tremaine Young says, how are you doing today? Tremaine, for what it's worth, I'm pretty exhausted. I've got BBK the next 4 days on the afternoon show on Giants.com. So I'm going to have to find enough gas in the reserve tank to get through the next 4 days. But that's okay. Again, I love what I do, so I'll find that gas. Believe me, I will find it, and I will dump it into the engine, and I'll rev it up, and I'll get those wheels turning again tomorrow. I promise you that. I will. But as it stands right now, we've been going for over 2.5 hours on this program. You guys have really shown me a lot of participation. I mean, the chats are just blowing up. We're almost up to 1,300 live views now for well over the last half of this program. So, you know, I can't go anywhere. How am I going to leave you guys? I can't. As long as you keep coming at me with stuff, I gotta try to do this. But yes, I'm pretty beat. Armin says, sorry I'm late. Was watching the Yankees fail. Oh, wonderful. They got beat. Can't really worry about that right now. It's only April for Major League Baseball, okay? Losing a game right now doesn't really do much to me. Now, Armin, let me just mention this to you. If you missed the first 25 minutes of the program, Emory Hunt of CBS Sports HQ, football analyst, and someone who pays an awful lot of attention to the draft, went through the Giants draft class pick by pick and gave you all of the elements that you would want to know about each of these guys and how they would fit into the Giants this year. He gave them an A+ for the draft. He was ecstatic with their picks. I do invite you to listen to that. Armin also says Nixon 5, and rest in peace, Dr. Dick Barnett. Yep. Dick Barnett, number 12, was a guard on the Knicks championship teams of 70 and 73, and so well respected by all of his teammates. Finally inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame last year. And I'm so grateful that it happened, because not only was he a historic figure in terms of a basketball sense, but he waited so long to get that honor. And at least they were able to do so while he was still alive. And I've always been angry at every Hall of Fame who winds up inducting a guy after he passes away, especially someone who's made to wait a long time and they get up there in years, or you know that they're not in very good health. It's like, come on, people. Do what you got to do. If he's going to wind up getting in anyway, well, let him enjoy it. Let him see it. Let him know that he was a Hall of Famer. Let him say when he wakes up in the morning, while he still has a chance to say, yes, I made it to the Hall of Fame. Don't wait till guys pass on. I say that to every Hall of Fame voter in every sport. Isaac Moore says, I'm going to root for the Knicks after my Lakers get bounced. Mark B says, Bowen better scheme it up right. Also, Giants need depth on both sides of the line. Mark B says, Newbin is a hitter. Tremaine Young says defense. Mark B says Drew Phillips, year 2 will be exciting. We keep going. Neymar Sekon. I hope I said that right, Neymar. Nixon 5. Sure. I got a question for you guys. Do you think yesterday last call should have been a foul or not? Does Knicks fans feel like it should not have been a foul? Call's not going either way. Well, this is a Giants show. Neymar says, as a Knicks fan, I'm happy we got a win yesterday. Figured a way to sneak it out. All right. I'm going to digress and talk Knicks for just one quick 30-second bite here. Here's the thing, and I put this up on my Twitter with a picture of Karl Anthony Towns literally getting held both arms by Pistons on either side of him during the course of the game. The Detroit Pistons wanted a 48-minute wrestling match. It's obvious by the way they played. It was obvious that the officials were going to let a lot of that stuff go. So, if you ask for a 48-minute wrestling match and you're going to let a lot of holding, clutching, pushing, shoving, throwing to the ground, forearms and elbows go for 47 and a half minutes, well, then you better let it go for the final 30 seconds. The Detroit Pistons got the kind of game that they wanted, and they paid the price for it. Case closed. Thank you. Armand Duda. Oh, you're going back to the basketball game. But this is a Giant show, fellas. I say it shouldn't have been called based on how they were calling the game. Hart didn't cause the missed shot either. He was trying to draw the foul rather than try to make the shot. Well, actually, Armand, you're right. You're right about that. Hardaway was not going to make the shot, and it was clear that the way he was motioning to just throw the ball up, he was looking to draw the foul. He knew that Hart was close to him and there was going to be contact. He just wanted the free throws. But here's the funniest part about it, right? Here's the funniest part about it. Cade Cunningham, who was being revered around the league, missed the shot. A floater in the lane that he himself said is muscle memory and believes he should make every time. Well, Cunningham missed the shot with 6 seconds to go. If he had just made the shot, then the Pistons fans wouldn't have anything to cry about. Unless, of course, with 6 seconds left, the Knicks got the ball back and got it to Karl Anthony Towns, or maybe Jalen Brunson, and then they hit the winning shot at the buzzer. And then Pistons fans could have cried all they wanted to on their way home. Edward Perez says Hyatt will be the man. Mark B says give Hyatt some burn and let him stretch the field. Edward Perez says speed, baby, speed. Mark B says Wilson loves Hyatt. He certainly mentioned him the first day he signed with the Giants. Edward Perez says yes. Armand Duda. Oh, he's going back to the Knicks. Armand, I got to let you go with the Knicks on this one. I can't read your chat. We got to get off of the Knicks now. Sean Jackson. In the 2021 draft, I was disgusted the Giants traded back to draft Tony while passing on Micah Parsons and Rashawn Slater. The 2025 Giants draft will hopefully erase that 2021 disaster. Abdul, Bo, etc. Okay. Isaac Moore says Giants never take deep shots, and unfortunately, Hyatt is a victim of that. Edward Perez says, I hope so. Mark B says, love to hear you talk defense. Yeah, well, Mark B, I cut my teeth when Bill Parcells was the head coach, and defense was the priority then. The Blue Wrecking Crew, the incredible Blue Dozers. Yep. I'm sorry. I'm always going to be leaning towards the defense. That's always going to be where my prejudice lies, if you will. I'll always prefer a dominant defense over a dominant offense. Edward Perez says this year we must stop the run, the weak run D. Yep. Let's see here. We still got some guys in the chatterbox here talking about the Knicks. That's fine. I'll let you guys talk about that yourself. I can't really address the Knicks anymore. I've already done enough of that tonight. Edward Perez says, we have good pass rushers, but must stuff run. Linebackers must be present this year. Edward, that's the point. You see, by enhancing the defensive line, that's going to allow Bobby Okereke to play like he did 2 years ago. When the defensive line can keep guys off of him, he can pick his spots, shoot his gaps, stay off of blockers, and then make the plays. Micah McFadden the same way. I think McFadden will be an early down linebacker next to Okereke. And then I think in obvious passing downs, if you don't see Carter lining up on the edge to spell Thibodeau or Burns, I think you'll see Carter on the field with those two guys. He may possibly go to one of their edges, or he may wind up staying in the middle. He would replace McFadden in the lineup in those obvious passing situations. And then he would be either a rover, or he would be just next to Okereke playing the inside guy, or he would play a spy. And of course, at any time, because of his ability to rush the quarterback, he could also wind up just coming up the middle. You send him through the A gap between the guard and the center and blitz him up the middle. All of a sudden now, this poor quarterback is looking at the defense, and now it's like, uh-oh, Burns is over there. Thibodeau's over there. Carter's almost right in front of me. 1, 2, 3 dominant pass rushers and Dexter Lawrence. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 linemen. Can I count on all of these guys to block? Could be a very fun scenario, folks, for the Giants D. I'm just saying. All right, Armand Tuda is back to talking football. He says, this tanking for a better draft pick is a disease. It's just a way to cope with a losing record to make it feel like a win. Pathetic. You might be right. You might have something there, Armand. You might. Because there's really no other way to justify those types of feelings. But people seem to always find a way to think they can. And maybe you've just given a logical assessment of why those twisted thoughts seem to pop up every time a team has a bad season. Edward Perez says, I agree, no tanking for losers. Yeah, in fact, I'll tell it to you guys now, and it may cost me some views. We're up nearly 1,300 live views on the stream right now. And if it does, it does. But anybody out there who wants to tank for a better draft pick, please don't even bother coming back to the show. That's just not the way I roll. I will not tolerate that philosophy. Again, you need to be in the locker room with these guys and these coaches and watch what they go through over a 17-week season to understand that is one of the most bogus things that anybody could ever say. Armand Duda says, if you don't feel the rush of a single win is strong enough to want it more than a better draft pick, then being a sports fan is probably not worth your time. That is very well said. Mark B says, Paul, met you at camp 2 years ago. Want to thank you for being approachable and engaging. You're truly a gem. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate those kind words. Look, I've said multiple times, I'm a conduit to the fans, right? I get to work in the building. I get to be at the games. I get to be at practice. I get to be in the locker room. So I need to be a conduit. I need to provide information to you guys so that you can better enjoy the games and the players and the coaches and just in general about being a fan. That's what media people in sports, media is different in news and in politics. That's different. They could serve a purpose as being a watchdog. But media and sports, we are meant to inform, to help you understand, and hopefully to help enhance your enjoyment of the sport that you enjoy watching. That's how I see it. It doesn't mean I can't be critical. Absolutely, I can be critical. I can tell you about players who are having a hard time. I can tell you about busted coverages. I can tell you about missed tackles. I can tell you about, players who have been inconsistent or flat out have been scuffling along. It doesn't mean, when I say I have to give information and hopefully it enhances your enjoyment of the game, it doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and say, 3 wins is okay. No, 3 wins is not okay. It's not okay for any of you out there. It's not okay for anybody at the Giants facility. It's not okay, really, for anybody who knows anything about football. To sit through a 17-game season and watch only 3 wins, there's nothing okay about that. So let me make that very, very clear. Isaac Moore says, of course, we can all speculate on hindsight, but it's better to enjoy the moment for real. Armin says, Charlie got John to lose it today on BBK. That's the only reason he calls, to get a reaction for his amusement. Oh, my goodness. We're going to take it to the top of the hour. We got about 4 minutes left. I'm going to try to get through these chats, and then we're going to call it a night. It'll be a 3-hour show. Sean Jackson says, maybe it's a Penn State thing, or I'm traumatized by Saquon going to the Eagles in the 2021 draft, passing on Parsons. But does Abdul Carter seem to physically resemble a blend of Saquon and Parsons? Go Giants. Abdul Carter's physical frame, his body type, he most resembles Pepper Johnson. Okay? That's who he most resembles. About 6'3", 6'4", 250 pounds. He most resembles Pepper Johnson. The difference is he's got some more speed and athleticism and bend to his game so that he can be a much more dominant blitzer and pass rusher than Pepper Johnson was. Not that Pepper Johnson couldn't do that, because he could. You'll remember, Pepper also, when there were injuries a couple times, he had to go outside. I remember one game when LT was hurt, I believe it was against Tampa Bay. Pepper Johnson had 4 sacks in a game. Pepper could cover. Pepper was very stout against the run. He was very athletic, had range. Pepper Johnson was a dynamite player, a second-round draft choice, I might add, as well. But Abdul Carter has more to offer in the pass rush than Pepper Johnson. But Pepper Johnson was more stout against the run than Carter is right now coming into his rookie season. We'll see how his body matures, and as he gains strength, how he will develop his run-stopping capabilities. Oh, Patty Trader, who was in charge of the New York Giants on SI Media Network, of which this is a part of, she mentions, hi, everyone. When the show's over, hop on to the Locked On Giants podcast. Spoken to Richie Bradshaw of Locked On Sun Devils about Cam Scatterbo and had great things to say, including the nickname he's hoping to take to New York. I don't mind giving that show a pop over there. After all, Patty is doing a program with the Locked On people, and I got no problem doing that. Let's see here. Armand says Carter can take 67, 56 and 11 and 67. No way LT or Sims number should be unretired. I agree. Blake Martinez won 2 Super Bowls, Giants and Packers? I don't understand that at all. Was this in like a video game or something? Because it didn't happen in real life. Aiden says, would you skip over Jameis for Dart late in the season in December if you're out of contention? Let's stay positive. If you're curious, should we give him a chance? Aiden, it would depend on the circumstances. Would there be a scenario where you possibly might get Dart some reps late in the season? Yes, there would be. But I think it all depends on circumstances. Some things would have to line up. So right now, again, it's a hypothetical that I don't think is really worth talking about. But is it possible that that situation could occur where Dart might see some snaps late in the year? I suppose it is possible, yes. Isaac says, I was thinking of Chase Blackburn, not Martinez. Big difference. Okay? Oh, do I really? No, I don't think I want to type out a response to this. I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to be mean to you, Isaac, because you're a good caller. You're a good fan. No. I can't do that to you. I can't do that to you. Chase, of course, when he was with the Giants, wore 57 and then 93. 57 and 93 and won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. Isaac wants to know, do I get Hall of Fame votes? No, I do not get to vote for the Hall of Fame. Oh, no. Armand says, sorry, Paul, didn't know you read from the chat for the show. Sure I do. I thought it was for us fans to talk to you. Well, yes, you can. Yes, you can talk to each other. I just try to incorporate as many of your chats as I can into the program. I try to hit everyone. I will occasionally pass over a few, but I try to hit everybody because I think if you guys have taken the time to tune into the program, especially if it's only going to be heard on audio, because the program does come out here live on video, it archives live on YouTube, but then the audio version also gets syndicated and put through all Apple and all these other podcast platforms as an audio only. So I like to try to share your conversations if I can, and certainly give you guys a shout out with your names and, so who's saying what they're saying or who's typing what they're typing. I like to try to get everybody involved. Why not? You've taken the time to come to the program. Why shouldn't I recognize you? Mark B says, seen that picture you posted of Karl Anthony Towns. Great picture. Yeah, he's getting mugged from both sides. Exactly. Neymar Sekhan says, as a Giants fan, I love the Abdul Carter pick. I think he can be elite. Darius Alexander, another Giant that I got. Thomas Fedoni, too, be a depth piece. How many tight ends do you think the Giants keep? I'm thinking it's 3, but I suppose it could be 4. That may also come down to how many receivers do you do, right? How many receivers? You're going to go 5 or 6 receivers. You're going to go 3 or 4 tight ends. You got to see. Aiden, thank you. He says, Paul is the best. I appreciate it. Mark B says, appreciate your endurance, Paul. This chat is a marathon. It sure is. But you know what? Mark B, I just reached the end of the chats, and you're the guy. You're the draft Mr. Irrelevant version of tonight's chat. We are done. Neymar, thank you. He says, I do agree Paul is the best. Well, you're very kind. We did actually reach 1,300 live people watching the stream tonight. And I am very grateful to each and every one of you. We will be back, not this Wednesday. This was a special edition. We moved the show to Monday this week because of the draft. But we will be back a week from Wednesday, okay, with our regular weekly show, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, with another live edition of the Big Blue Breakdown Live. And please don't forget, if you're catching us on the archive or you came in late, the first 25 minutes or so, we broke down the entire draft class of the New York Football Giants with CBS Sports HQ football analyst Emory Hunt, who had a complete breakdown. He was really great on each of the Giants draft picks and even talked about some of the reported deals that they've made with some undrafted rookie free agents. There is great information there coming from a guy who covers the league-wide, okay? There is no reason for Emory to specifically butter up the Giants or talk extra glowingly about any of the guys that the Giants picked up. He has no reason to do it. He's a nationally recognized football analyst with CBS Sports HQ. He's got no agendas. He told it like it was and gave the Giants an A+ for their draft. I think he understands also that we know you don't grade it till 3 years later, as he said. But on paper, if you want to do a knee-jerk reaction, you have to be incredibly impressed with what Joe Schoen, the Giants general manager, did this past week. Well, that'll do it, folks, for this edition of the Big Blue Breakdown Live. I'm Paul Dottino. Thank you so much for being with us. A 3-hour program, another marathon. We hope to see you again very, very soon. Good night, everybody.